from the Israel Sports Radio studios in Jerusalem, Israel, our nation's capital, it's Louis Lang. There's your host, me, and Raphael Geller. How you doing, Raphael?
Good. It's been a good week. A very exciting show. Pretty random show, but in a good way. It's some WNBA finals champion, ESPN member for the Marlins, Ari Carter, and some your favorite sport, Ari, soccer analyst.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, a very excited show as always. Cap off the week, as Raphael mentioned. We have a great week, and we're going to end this show and end the week with Brandon McDougall and a special bonus segment at 8:30.
Right.
From 8 to 8:30, we're going to play our interview with Kurt Schilling. So if you're tuning in then, you should tune into the whole show. But if you tune into just that point, that's why you're hearing Kurt Schilling. 8:30 will be Brandon McDougall to announce what team he will play for next season in the IFL.
But we will end the show at 8, and then we will come back at 8:30, correct?
Well, we're going to play Kurt Schilling at 8 o'clock.
Oh, I didn't hear. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, got that. Cool. So we're going to have, I guess, a long, exciting show.
Yes, it'll be some fun stuff.
And everyone should keep in mind that this Kurt Schilling interview was before
his business went belly up.
Yeah. So it's kind of makes the interview more interesting because now you know what happened, and his political career is never going to happen now, obviously. No offense, Kurt. But
I hope he doesn't blame us.
Yeah.
A month
Bad
after
karma.
he came on the show.
Pretty weird. Who knows, though? Maybe he knew it was happening then. You can't believe in politics in that kind of environment that he didn't know anything, and then a month later it was out. He must have known something. Maybe he didn't want to believe it. I don't know. But he lost over $95 million, folks. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a bad year. But
still rich, though. I mean, he still has $2 million, $3 million from what I heard or read. So...
Right, so he'll be okay.
Right.
And he was very nice. It was a very entertaining interview, so we look forward to playing that at 8 o'clock. So enjoy that. And right now, we're going to get on the line ISR's Southern correspondent to the United States, Ari Carter. Want to remind everyone, by the way, to check out our store by clicking on the store tab. Great items such as T-shirts, hats, and much, much more. That's the store tab on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Right now, we're going out to Ari Carter. Ari, can you hear us?
Yes, good morning. Good morning. How you guys doing today?
We're doing great. Well, it's more afternoon out here, or closer to the evening, but
still hot though.
Still hot. Yes, the sun is blazing. A couple more hours of that big bright sun. But we're gonna let Raphael get it started. Go ahead, Raphael, take it away.
Hey, Ari, how you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing good, man.
Great. I wanted to start off with Olympic hoops and talk about Team USA, of course, and then they've played really well their first two games, and they're playing later. For us, it's actually midnight. It's around midnight, 5 p.m. time there. Kind of weird how they're having games at 10:15. What do you think about that, first, Clark? Having basketball games start at 10:15 at night.
Well, I've been having some little issues or whatnot as far as the timings on myself, but I feel like, they can go on ahead and put it more at like a primetime slot somewhere where, everybody around, especially here in America, can actually go on ahead and, see the games possibly around between 8, 7 o'clock, something like that. Most of our games are not coming on the major network. They're being broadcast by NBC, of course, but NBC has different stations on the different cable networks that you actually have to go to and go find the games. So it kind of makes it a little bit difficult. And then a lot of the things are kind of delayed. Even when you look at swimming and Michael Phelps, or the women's gymnastics, I've been hearing a lot of people having issues as far as fans, because when you're on Twitter, you already know the result. So you have to kind of shut down your Twitter, shut down all of your little social networks in order to watch everything live on television. And, people have been having a little bit of issues with that lately.
Right. And, yeah, that's funny because in Israel, I got to say, because it's in London, it's pretty much the same time zone as us, just 2-hour difference. So it turns on here at 10 a.m. and it ends at 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. So everything's live for about 14 hours. So we've gone to watch Team USA at a pretty good time for the most part, except when it's late at night. But I want to ask you, first game against France was easy. Second game against Tunisia, easier. And then tonight's game against Nigeria, that should be easy. Is this you think this is a bad for Team USA that they don't really have to play anyone good until the quarterfinals?
Personally, I view and I look at that as a good thing. I mean, it's a good and a bad thing. If you look at the games, they tend to be close in the first and second half.
Right.
So when you look at it, America. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Glenn. Take it away.
No, I was saying if you look at the games in the first and second quarter, America is not being able to go on ahead and put the games away, especially against Tunisia. That game was actually close at halftime. America was trailing or up by one at the end of the first quarter. So we're seeing LeBron and Kobe, we're seeing everybody, but we're not seeing that we're not seeing that passion. We're not seeing that blowout come out like the 92 teams that would come out and just simply blow you out. A lot of it has been put on by the bench players coming off the bench. Russell Westbrook, Kevin Love, even Anthony Davis, your guys' main guy over there. He's been doing great.
Right. Oh, that's a great point. The first half was really close, especially the first quarter. I remember saying, okay, when is America going to start playing better? And I was waiting and waiting and waiting. And, I just I don't think it's a good thing that, that they're not playing anyone good. Ari, what do you think? I mean, there's no competition until the quarterfinals. What if they have to play, a good Argentina team in the quarterfinals? They get too cocky with the first three victories.
I'm not worried about the U.S. team. I'm just not.
Okay, that was okay. Kanari, what about you? Any concern at all? Am I the only one who's concerned here?
Well, my only concern is that first half. We need to see LeBron and Kobe go out there and, Durant, and actually put the games away before halftime. They need to go out there and actually show that, hey, flex that muscle a little bit. Go back out there and show that you guys are the best. Instead of going out there and kind of mediocrely going through the first half and then having the bench come in.
Yeah, and, well, I think Spain's going to win, but I've been saying that for a while. Spain's my gold. My favorite.
So the Pacers are going to beat the Heat. So.
And they almost did. So we'll see. I mean, I think there's too much cockiness on this USA team, and I don't think it's that good of a team. I know I've been called crazy for that, but they don't have good big men, really. Tyson Chandler is not a good big man. I'm sorry. He's not. Kevin Love is not a big man. He's a shooter. And point guard wise, I mean, there's the best point guards aren't there. So I like Spain.
Chris Paul?
What was that?
I said Chris Paul.
I've never been a Chris Paul fan. You might hate on me, but I'd rather have Derrick Rose, a healthy Derrick Rose, than Chris Paul. Dwight Howard. This team is I don't know how it could be called the dream team if I think 2 out of the top 5 players in the NBA aren't there. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you as far as not having Derrick Rose on the team, but I also look at the fact that you have Kevin Durant, who's almost 7 foot, who can go out there to the wing and shoot, and then most of the centers around, are roughly around the same size as LeBron James, so they didn't need that big dominant force in the middle like that. As long as they were able to provide the defense with Tyson Chandler to kind of keep everything even. So when you look at the size all around, outside of Spain, where you have Gasol and Ibaka and Mark and Paul, outside of Spain, there's no big threat as far as a middle presence. So I'm not too worried about that right now.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't understand the media in America saying is this dream team and that is better than the other dream team when you don't have 2 of the top 5 players. And Derrick Rose, I think, is the best point guard in the NBA. Deron Williams and Chris Paul.
Yeah, but the first dream team didn't have the best point guard in the league in Isaiah Thomas. So
Stockton at the time, though, Stockton, though, is a Hall of Famer. None of these guys are going to be Hall of Famers. Deron Williams will not be Hall of Famer. Chris Paul, is Chris Paul a Hall of Famer, Kalai? I don't think so. Do you?
he kind of reminds me of an Isaiah Thomas missing the championship. And once he gets his championship, or once, they got a good nucleus there with the Los Angeles Clippers. And that team can go very far. If you look at the depth that they just added to that team, they could challenge anybody. So when I look at that, I see Chris Paul being at the beginning stages of his career and possibly becoming a Hall of Famer. He's not a Hall of Famer right now. And that's a difference between the 92 team and the 2012. That's another difference. I mean, there's a lot of differences. I don't even call the 2012 team a dream team. It's a USA men's basketball team. That's not a dream team right now. But if you look at the 92 team, most of the players that were on that team were already established. You had Bird and Magic going out. You had Barkley, who wasn't necessarily Hall of Famer yet, but he was on his way. You had Michael Jordan, who had just got them winning his championship. Was at 92. When you look at these things, it kind of makes you think a little bit, and you can see where they're coming from. Chris Mullin wasn't a Hall of Famer, so you do have different aspects. Christian Laettner, I really have Anthony Davis.
Right.
Right. Different aspects to this team.
Yeah, you're right. I guess this is part of my European basketball bias. I just really want Spain to win. I mean, maybe it's not going to happen, but I just think that there's too much cockiness on this team, and we'll see. I guess time will tell. I also like Argentina. I know they just lost to France, but there's definitely some. Even Brazil. Look how well Brazil played USA in the opener. And Connor, let's think about it this way. You said it yourself. If Team USA is tied with Tunisia in the first quarter, they could be tied with Spain at the end of the third quarter. Right? Don't you agree with something like that?
I can see that, but I don't know if USA would take France the way they're taking Tunisia. You get what I'm saying? I think that'd be a little bit more upbeat for France versus being upbeat for Tunisia. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe they don't have that upbeat to get up for these teams. I don't know. I don't know, but I saw the France game, and we did pretty good against France.
Right. No, that's true. And then France, after that happened, the French media was saying, this team is Tony Parker and no one else. Meanwhile, next game, France goes out and beats probably top 3 team in the tournament, Argentina. So the France team is legit. Argentina now just destroys Tunisia. So Argentina is definitely moving on. France is one as well. So I think they will be moving on today against Lithuania. And Australia beating China. It's sad kind of what happened to Chinese basketball after Yao Ming. They used to be very big in the world. Now they're nothing. But tonight's games are very good. Great Britain against Russia. That's going to be, Brazil against Russia. Both teams have NBA players, NBA talent. Tonight's Nigeria-USA game, 5 p.m. your time, midnight here, I think will be fun to watch because there's a few Americans on this Nigerian team that play, or one of them plays in the NBA. So it'd be nice to see that game be close. It probably won't be in the third quarter. Kanar, next, I want to move on to Michael Phelps. I know that we usually talk basketball, baseball, but this is something that, as an American, I'd like to hear what you have to say or what you think. There's just been talk that he didn't have the same amount of hunger, the same amount of pride or energy to win this Olympics as he did in the previous ones. So do you buy that, or do you just think the people were better?
They're just better. I don't think it has anything to do with heart or hunger or anything like that. I think Michael Phelps, as time goes, you do kind of tail off a little bit, and he's kind of tailed off a little bit. But if you look at it, he's getting medals, and that's what's important. Right now he's at number 19. He's the greatest Olympian of all time, and that's what counts. The fact that he was able to go out there and compete and still achieve the goal. It may not have been the goal in every event, but he achieved the goal, and the goal was to go out as the greatest Olympian of all time. And that's what he has gone out there. That's what he has accomplished. There are other swimmers. You have Magnuson, who is great, of what is that, Australia?
Yeah.
He's awesome. You also have Ryan Lochte,
right,
who is coming up, who's been training with Michael Phelps and competing against Michael Phelps for years, you know. And you have different people that are coming up, and they're competing against Michael Phelps. And if you look at it, Michael Phelps has a lot of these world records. And even though he's losing, they're not touching those world records. So he still goes out as the best.
right. No, that's true. It's a great point. We're on right now with Clenari Carter, Israel Sports Radio Southern correspondent. And Clenari, let's get to some baseball. Big moves by the Marlins. You cover that area for us. So I wanted to ask you what exactly is going on in Miami right now. Suddenly everyone's for sale. Hanley's gone. Heath Bell is rumored to be on the block, or was rumored to be on the block. Josh Johnson. I mean, it looks like they want to get rid of this team. So what exactly is going on? Why was Hanley traded? And I guess my question really is, does this go back to his behavior with the team, in the offseason where he demanded to be shortstop instead of Jose, or, last year, 2 years ago when he didn't hustle? Is this all about just his work ethic, or why was this trade done right now? I don't think a lot of people saw it coming.
I think it's the fact that the Miami right now, they're sitting at 48 and 56. This is just currently. They expected to have more first-year debut. The team was supposed to be ready. They're supposed to be doing what the Washington Nationals are actually doing right now, being in first place. And, there's been maybe they're looking to shake up some things there, Hanley Ramirez going to the Dodgers. I think that was a pretty good move for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Not a good move for the Marlins. So when you look at everything, and you take everything into its proper content, I think it's just a letdown. And because of that letdown, they thought that they had something, and that's not what they have. Josh Johnson is not Josh Johnson right now. He's pitching, but he's not pitching at an elite level, and that's what we're used to down in Miami. And the team's just not the same. I think it's just a complete letdown. And it kind of started with the comments at the beginning of the year and by their manager, Ozzie Guillen.
Right.
And it just kind of curtailed from there.
True, very right. The Castro comments, obviously not the best place to do that, where pretty much a quarter of Miami or maybe more is Cuban or from Cuba. We'll get back to baseball with Ari, but I want to talk now. It is August and football is in the air. Not really in Israel, but in America. I guess in Israel the IFL starts soon, Ari. Couple of weeks?
In November.
November. Okay, that's not soon. Never mind.
I have a guest tonight, so yeah.
Right. Okay. We have a guest tonight, but a lot of big news for your teams, teams you cover: Falcons, Panthers, and Dolphins. So I want to start off with your Falcons, or not your. I know they're not your Falcons. I know you're a Seahawk fan. I think you're a Seahawk fan, but I want to ask you. We've talked about this in the past. Matt Ryan. Last year wasn't the best year. They had the breakout year a couple of years ago. What should we expect? I mean, what's a disappointment? This division might be the best division in football now. If Tampa Bay can play well this year, all teams could be competing for a playoff spot. I don't know how many other divisions could say that. So what do you think the Falcon fan base will be expecting this year?
Well, starting off with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, I expect them to have more of a better connection. They were good last year, in spots. They were great in spots. We've seen flashes of brilliance from those guys. And I think this year we're going to see that on a more consistent basis. As far as, the short intermediate routes, as far as, deep routes, I like Julio. And I think that as time goes on between him and Matt Ryan, you're going to see more of a nucleus between him, Matt Ryan. Tony Gonzalez is looking at this possibly being his last year. So I expect the Atlanta Falcons to go on ahead and make some headways, possibly a 10-6 type of year. I like their guard/center who they got and drafted. I expect him. I believe he played center when he was in college, and right now what they're doing is they're putting Peter Peter Coons at guard right now, and that's where he's practicing. So they're looking for him to actually play a center guard, kind of be flexible there. And I think he's going to bring a bigger presence to that line that had issues as far as, shortening ball and trying to convert on 4th and inches, 4th and 1. There were times where Michael Turner couldn't necessarily get those yards because they weren't getting that push on that line. So those guys going out there, rebuilding that line and doing everything well. I think like I said, 10-6 for the Falcons this year. That's my prediction with them right now. The Panthers, Ryan Khalil. I hope you guys heard about his coming.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we talked about it for a while the other day, and that's actually where I was going with this, Kanari, so I'm glad you mentioned it. So they didn't make the playoffs. I know they had improvement under Noon. I know he had an amazing, maybe one of the best rookie years ever, to be honest. But still, Steve Smith is old. They have good linemen. I guess they have good defensive players. But what the hell was he thinking?
The only thing I can think of him talking about is the fact that you're supposed to come into the year with the expectations of winning the Super Bowl. If your team's not looking to win the Super Bowl or have that expectation, maybe you shouldn't be playing for them. But in all fairness, we do have to think logically. And I don't think anybody right now in the NFL, any analyst or any player outside of Ryan Khalil is thinking that the Carolina Panthers are going to go to the Super Bowl and win it all right now. Great linebacker. He has a bright future, but at the same time, hey, kind of tone that down a little bit,
Right. I mean,
so much there.
Not only did he predict it, but the way he did it was buying out an ad in the biggest newspaper in Charlotte. I mean, you could say it to a local reporter, maybe as a joke, but he took out an ad. He made it very serious. I mean, if anyone out there hasn't seen the ad, just type in his name in Google and then Super Bowl ad, and you'll find it, and you'll see it. It looks pretty legit. It looks like he's being serious. So, yeah, a lot of pressure on them. And I want to ask, is that a good pressure or bad pressure? I mean, what should the team expect from this? And will people make fun of them if they start the season 2-2 or even 3-1? I mean, how good do they have to do at the start of the season for people to give them a chance?
I think they have to start off, like you said, possibly a 4-1 out of the first 5 games. They're going to have to come out of the gate gunning. But at the same time, this is the Carolina Panthers team that hasn't done anything of recent as far as going to the playoffs. The last time I think they did something was NFC championship game, Seattle Seahawks, Carolina Panthers, 2006.
Wow. A while.
When Steve Smith got upset at home, at my home,
your home,
at Westville, and he was a little bit upset, and they went on ahead and actually lost that game. Now, since 2006, I haven't seen Carolina do too much of anything except for last year. Cam Newton brings those guys a spark, and I think that it's very, very, it's very, very. There's something to be said when your 2 top players, Cam Newton, who was a rookie last year on offense, and Ryan Khalil, who was a rookie last year on defense. And they're kind of stepping up and taking the reins of the Carolina Panthers team. And I think that's great because it shows that they feel as though there is a great future inside of that franchise. And if you're 2 leaders who are very young to step up and bring that type of pop, that type of excitement to the field, I think it's going to be great for the Carolina Panthers organization. I think that they could do a lot of different things as well. I look for them to actually be a team that is actually knocking on the door of being a playoff team in 2012-2013 season. But at the same time, if they don't start off real good, hey, the expectations ain't really that high anyway nationwide. So there's not going to be too much of a gripe about that, but there will be some, people making fun of, Ryan and his advertising prediction.
Okay, Connor, we have Well, actually, quickly, I want to ask you a question, and then Ari wants to finish off with a funny question that he's been asking a lot of our guests. Dolphins, though, Ryan Tannehill played 19 games at Texas A&M as a quarterback. Doesn't really, I mean, that's not a lot of experience because, in football, players have to go usually to 3 years of college. Well, actually, not usually. They do have to go to 3 years of college. So, or maybe it's sophomore year now. I don't remember the rules. But 19 years as a quarterback, really was a wide receiver, drafted in the top 10. There's a lot of talent on this Dolphin quarterback depth chart, Matt Moore and Gerard. So is Tannehill starting, or are they bringing him in to groom him, or what exactly is going on?
I think whenever you draft a player in the top 10 and the player has a lot of potential, and like a Ryan Tannehill, whenever you bring in a guy like that, your first objective as a franchise is to actually have that top 10 player come in and start. And I think that the job is his to lose. And when I say to lose, is I feel like they're going to put him at number one, and it's up to him to continue to show that progression as far as becoming an NFL quarterback and the leader of that team. Now, if he doesn't show that progression, then, of course, I don't see him starting after the first couple of games. He might lose that position, or he might not even go in as the starter. Of course, they have Ocho Cinco, which that's last name no more. Chad Johnson on the team now, which is a big, money maker down there in South Beach, down there in Miami, being that, that's his home. I don't know if he can recapture any of his form, but if for some reason he can catch lightning in a bottle with Chad Johnson and with Ryan Tannehill, that could be a pretty good combination.
Yeah, and Matt Moore, I think it'll be interesting to see because the Dolphins have good depth. I mean, if Matt Moore is their backup quarterback and Gerard is their backup. So, I think you take Tannehill out for a couple of games. Anyway, Ari, ask your question.
Yes. Last question, Clary, before we let you go. LeBron James asked an American swimmer out for dinner, and she turned him down, saying she had a curfew. I mean, if you're that swimmer, don't you break curfew to have dinner with LeBron James?
Go on ahead. You have the dinner. You break the curfew. You deal with it later. They're not going to kick you off the team. We need a world medal. We need that gold medal. So, hey, but at the same time, I wonder what his wife thinks about that. No.
Actually, I thought about that.
Girlfriend.
Oh, it's girlfriend.
Savannah, right. Savannah, girlfriend, not wife, I believe.
Yeah, girlfriend, baby mama.
Right, she's mothered two or three of his kids.
That's true. That she might as well be a wife, let's be honest. Actually, Kanari,
that's a friendly date.
That is a great point. A friendly day. Maybe you didn't realize that every media outlet in the world would pick up on it, but at the same time, how do you not realize that?
Also, how did all the media outlets pick up on it? Was someone there listening when he asked her?
She could have leaked it to get attention. I mean,
Probably.
What was she? A swimmer? A gymnast?
I think a swimmer.
Whoever she is, no one knew about her before. No disrespect.
I
don't know her name now, and I've read the article 5 times.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know her
name. No disrespect to her. I'm sure she's a great athlete, but that's all I have to say about that.
All right, Clara, we got to let you go, but thank you for being on Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com, and give a plug of where everyone can find more about your work.
You can find more about my work at JMC Sportsbook. The JMC stands for Just Make It Count Sportsbook. You can find me online at Twitter and Facebook, of course. You can find me right here on Israel Sports Radio, the only sports radio in the Middle East. And I love you guys. We go on ahead, we do this thing week after week, and we are growing together, and I really, really appreciate being a part of this. I appreciate you guys.
We love
Absolutely.
you too, man. We love you too, and it's always a good time, and we're looking forward to next week already.
Yeah, and Lauren Perdue is the swimmer's name.
Oh, right.
All right, that's her name. I still can't say I know that much about her, but I will give her the honor of looking it up right now in the commercial break.
She probably has a Wikipedia page at this point. All right.
Yeah.
At this point. Okay.
All right, Clary, be well out there. We'll speak to you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. That was Clary Carter, our Southern correspondent to the United States at Israel Sports Radio. We're going to take a real quick commercial break, and on the other side, two-time WNBA champion Yolanda Moore. This is Louis live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts.
Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM. You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Drain Seat C, compression fit, UV protection, moisture wicking, anti-odor, and physique enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Drain is a revolutionary seat seat garment that features high-performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com. Back here on Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Our thanks again to Cladari Carter, our Southern correspondent to the United States. And we're not going to dial up two-time WNBA champion with the Houston Comets, Yolanda Moore. She's also an author as well and has worked with Fox Sports South. So speak with Yolanda in a few moments, and want to remind everyone to check out our store as well. Hi, am I speaking with Yolanda?
This is she.
Hi, Yolanda. This is Ari Louis. You're live on Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. How are you doing out there?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're doing great. This is a real pleasure and privilege to have you on. As I mentioned to our audience, you're a two-time WNBA champion and played with one of the greatest teams in history, in my opinion, Cynthia Cooper, of course, Tina Thompson, Cheryl Swoops. First start with Cynthia Cooper. What was it like to play with someone of her caliber? She got in the league late, obviously, because the WNBA was founded in 1997, and at that time Cynthia was in her 30s. But the Michael Jordan of the WNBA won 2 MVPs right away, won 4 titles. What was it like seeing her in practice, seeing her in games, getting ready to go out and win a title for the city of Houston?
Well, I'll tell you this. I thought that I was a hard worker, but Cynthia Cooper was by far, I'd have to say, the hardest working person that I've ever seen for an athlete of her caliber. She absolutely had nothing to prove because she had proven herself. She came in as a superstar, European superstar, having played over in Italy and some other places and won MVPs. But Cynthia was always the first person in the gym. She was always the last person to leave. She worked on her shot. I mean, she would shoot 1,000 shots. This was either before or after practice. I mean, her work ethic was just unreal. I mean, and she had this this 1-2 going to the basket. I'm sure everybody who ever watched, you saw it coming, but you could do nothing about it because she practiced on that thing so much till it was just down. She had it down to a science. So I learned so much from her just about honing your craft and being dedicated to the game and understanding your value to the team and being able to step out there on the court every single time and have your teammates depend on you and know that they're going to get their very, very best from you.
You know, Yolanda, I was at the 2006 WNBA All-Star Game in Madison Square Garden where they had the all-time team of the first 10 years of the WNBA. And Cynthia Cooper came out last. She was the only retired player, but got the biggest standing ovation, not just from the fans, but from the players as well. They had so much respect for her, even though many of them lost big games towards her. And speaking of one of those big games, the Comets won 1997. The title against, back then, people forget now because it's out of 5 games, but back then, 1997, it was 1 game, winner take all. That was against the New York Liberty, going up against Rebecca Lobo. What was that like? Because this is the first year of the WNBA. It was talked for a while about a professional women's league playing in America and having an NBA type of feel. And now here you are in 1997 playing for the title, 1 game, winner take all. Tell us the emotions going into that ball game.
You know, it was such great emotion, but we were so focused because nobody really knew what to kind of expect from any of the teams in the league, obviously. LA was obviously the favorite going in at the start of the league because there was so much hype about Lisa Leslie. And then, of course, you had New York because of Rebecca Lobo. And then no one knew what to expect from Houston because our so-called star player, which she was one of the ones, Cheryl Swoops, was pregnant. So we basically, were counted out. And so to be there in that moment, for us to even have made it to the championship game was a huge deal for us because we kind of had a chip on our shoulder because everybody, like I said, nobody expected us to be there. They were looking at, we had Kim Perot, who passed away in 99, but she was a basically unknown player, and she ended up being our star point guard that led us to those two championships the first 2 years that I was there. And just having to, having all of that emotion, playing with a chip on our shoulder. We had the stuff going on in the paper about the rift between Cheryl and Cynthia. And the thing about it was when they stepped on that court, nothing else mattered. And so when we got to that championship game, the whole focus was beating New York because the WNBA was all fresh and new. It's based out of New York, and New York was like the favorite team. LA wasn't there, which is what everybody wants to see, LA, New York, because of the NBA rival between the Knicks and the Lakers, what have you. So it just didn't pan out that way. Luckily for us, it didn't. Being there in that championship game and being in Madison Square Garden and playing and winning that first championship is something that you just really can't describe. The emotion is so great. The anticipation is so great. And then you want to win. It's just not enough to be there. We wanted to win. So we were so focused, and that's what we did. We went in there and we won.
All right, Yolanda, now I got to go to a sad point for me, a great point of your career. 1998, you take on the Phoenix Mercury. Mercury get the Game 1 victory. Game 2 goes to overtime, but Comets pull it out, and then, of course, win Game 3. Back then it was 2 out of 3 for the title. Just a gritty series, so close. I felt so bad for Jennifer Gillum and Michelle Timms and these because, Cynthia Cooper wasn't the only player who had a long, historic career before the WNBA. Michelle Timms did. Michelle Timms did as well. And I mean, you guys took a heart, but hey, to the victor goes the spoil. The spoils go to victor, whatever the saying is. You guys won. What was it like then to go from 1 game to 3 games and have it so close? Game 2 going to overtime and just pulling out that series.
I think what people fail to realize is that the WNBA season is so condensed. We play like a college season in like 3 to 4 months. So we were playing, 4 games a night, sometimes 4 games a week, sometimes back to back. And back then, those series were you play on Friday, then you fly back home and then you play again on Saturday. So there's no recovery time. So, both teams are exhausted. Both teams want to win. And then for a game to go into overtime, I remember that game because Cynthia Cooper about passed out, towards the end of the game. And then having to go into overtime, she played, the whole entire game. So our starters, Tina Thompson, Cynthia Cooper, Jeanette Arcane, they really, they played the bulk of the minutes, and it was just so draining, just so emotionally draining for us, just very emotionally draining. But again, when you step out on that court and a championship is on the line, then you can be tired after the game.
Yeah, that's the best way to say it. And the game, it was tiring as a fan watching it, and it wasn't until the Mercury won in 2007 that I thought that some of those ghosts were really exercised. I remember calling into a program saying that now we can kind of rest from the 1998 loss because it was right there in our hands. But again, congratulations, obviously, to your team. Your team was the champion that year in 97 and was able to put something really together. Now, kind of more of a sensitive topic for you, and I know it's hard to go to win 2 titles, and then the expansion draft comes, and you end up going to the Orlando Miracle. Is it just at that point where you say, hey, this is a business, and I understand it's part of it, or were there some kind of bitter feelings or kind of a personal type of thing? Hey, why am I the one who should go? I want to stay here and continue to win titles. So give us kind of your thoughts when that occurred in that draft.
Well, I had to look at it from both perspectives. Of course, being in Houston and having started that tradition, and we became a family. And of course, obviously, I knew Coach Chancellor because I played for him in college, and so it was bittersweet. But I did understand the nature of the business. At that time, you could only protect so many players, and for me, I wasn't one of the ones who was protected. So I had to look at it as a new beginning, a chance to go to a new team and try to take some of that competitiveness and that winning, attitude into a new attitude. atmosphere, but it was a tough adjustment because the coaching styles were very different, and there were people from different teams who weren't protected, who were coming in from all over the league. And then we had Nikisha Sales, who had just won, I think she had won a championship at UConn. So she was like the focal point of the team. She was a franchise player. Everything was being built around her. So it was just you had a lot of different mentalities when it came to approaching the game. Everybody didn't have that championship mentality coming in. So that was difficult. That was probably the hardest part for me. It was just a different atmosphere and just a different attitude towards the game.
All right, now, after your career, you work as a college basketball analyst for Fox Sports, covering the women's college basketball. And a lot of athletes do this where they play, and after the career, they cover it in some form as a broadcaster, reporter, what have you. Tell us, though, about that transition to now cover it and be on the media end of the game of basketball.
It's different because you get to see the game, obviously, from I guess like a coach, so to speak. I didn't realize how fast the game went until I was sitting back there and had the headphones on, and you have to watch the game. You have to play off the play-by-play person and take direction from the director. So that was a transition for me because as a player, you used to, you're either getting in or you're sitting from the bench and you're watching and you become engaged. So I had to get used to that. It was just a different, perspective. And I also went on after that to work for the Memphis Grizzlies. I ended up being a post-game reporter and having to interview the visiting players. And that was a little different. I got to see the egos up close and personal, so that was a little bit different for me.
Did they show you a disrespect or lack of respect because you're a woman and playing in the WNBA? Did they treat you a little differently?
Initially, until they saw the championship ring on my finger,
Right
I got the kind of it's a girl, she's cute. Some of the guys tried to hit on me. Then I throw the ring up in the finger and like, until you get one of these, I'm gonna need you to, just show a little bit of respect. It was kind of that without having to say it. But once they found out who I was and that I played and that I understood the game, I just wasn't, just in there just trying to be in there. And I actually knew what they were talking about. I understood it. Then, the whole conversation kind of changed. Instead of initially when I started, the very first time I had to go in, and I think it was Houston that played, and I had to interview, they wanted me to interview Tracy McGrady. He was taking so long to come out. And I couldn't understand for the life of me what was taking so long. And I found out, some of them try to avoid having to talk to the media. And so I kind of just went in there and got them. And talk to them. So that was kind of my approach to it. Like, don't, the egos, keep your egos in check. I got 2 championship rings. That's all I need to say.
That's great stuff. We're speaking right now with 2-time WNBA champion Yolanda Moore. And now, Yolanda, I want to go back in time to your high school days, a 3-time high school state champion. You're the Gatorade High School Player of the Year, and you're ranked number 15 best high school female basketball player by USA Today. So as I mentioned, your year in 1997, that was the first year of the WNBA. In high school, did you know that there was going to be a WNBA or WNBA forming? Were you pretty sure that's where you wanted to go? Or were you thinking after high school, and later on after college and so on, that you're going to go play in Europe? So tell us the foundations, the beginning of the WNBA as far as translating to the players if they knew what was about to be on the horizon.
Well, when I graduated from high school, there was no professional women's sports team in America, and the WNBA was 5 years later. So my thought was, you go overseas and you play basketball. That was my thinking. That was my plan. And so once I got to Ole Miss and they started talking about it, like after my senior year, really during my senior year of college, 95, 96, there was some talk about it. And then at the end of that season, 96, when the U.S. Olympic women's basketball team just ransacked everybody and really just put the game of women's basketball on the map with the Olympics being in Atlanta that year, people got to see that women's basketball was a good product, not just at the college level, but professionally. And so once the WNBA it was a go. It was solid. We knew for sure that this was going to be a reality for all of us who had dreamed of playing basketball. Like, now we don't have to go overseas. We don't have to be disconnected from our families. We don't have to go over there and have to deal with the language barrier and things like that just to play the game that we love. We can do just like the men do. We can graduate from college and we can get drafted. We can play right here. So having that to look forward to gave you a different motivation. Of course, for players now, coming up in middle school and in high school, they already know what it's going to pretty much take for them to get in. Back then, nobody knew what it was going to take. Nobody, because they had the superstars who had been players who were overseas, who had been college superstars, that they were allocating to the different teams. And so then they had their college draft, and back then teams had local tryouts where you could come and they fill like a couple of roster spots like practice players. Well, they don't do that anymore. Now, they've taken the cream of the crop in the draft, and if you don't get drafted, then you have to, try to get yourself into one of the training camps.
Hi, Alana. It's Raphael. Thank you so much for joining us. I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions about your career.
Okay.
I wanted to, for our listeners who don't know, it's not just that you are a two-time WNBA champion, it's how you achieved that. And I want to start off by talking about getting onto the team. In May 1997, 4 months, I'll say it again, 4 months after giving birth and recovering from a third knee surgery, you decided to go try out with 200 other women for the remaining spot on the Houston Comets. You were told you have no shot. My question, and I've been wanting to ask you this since we had the interview scheduled, why did you still decide to show? What inside you said, Yolanda, I still have to go, I'm not giving up?
Well, it's what the best way that I can put it was, that's what I wanted to do. That was my dream. I wasn't going to, just because somebody else thought that I didn't have a chance, I felt like I owed it to myself, to at least go. I had worked out. I had lost weight. I lost almost 40 some odd pounds in like 2 months. I'd rehabbed. I was putting in the hours on the track. I was putting in hours in the weight room. I was going over to the gym late at night by myself at 11 o'clock at night, wrapping my daughter up, going in the gym by myself, working out until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then getting up, going to class at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I owed it to myself. I felt like I'd done enough to where I was satisfied and confident that if I went down there and gave it my best, that I at least had a shot of making that team. So when Coach Chancellor told me, he basically told me, you have a snowball's chance in hell of making the team because of the people that he had drafted who were at my position but much taller than me. I'm only 6 feet tall, and I played center and power forward in the SEC, and I was one of the top 10 players in the SEC. Well, coming in, he's drafting players from overseas. They're like 6'5". I never even seen women. I didn't even know women could grow that tall. They were 6'10" and 7 feet tall and, at my position. But in my mind, I knew that I could do it, and I knew that that was for me. And so I wasn't going to let what somebody else thought about me and my ability keep me from going and pursuing my dream. That just wasn't going to happen. Yeah,
it's absolutely amazing. And coming out from Mississippi, I got to spend some time in Mississippi last summer. Honestly, it was great. I'm not gonna lie to you. A kid coming from Jerusalem, going to Mississippi, I had to get surgery there. I didn't know what to expect. We were in Jackson. It was some of the best food I've ever had in my life, and some of the nicest people in the world. And my family would have never guessed that because who would have known? So you went to high school in Mississippi. And then, one of the top players in the United States, Gatorade High School Player of the Year in Mississippi, number 15 overall by USA Today. So my question is, why do you decide to stay in Mississippi? Why don't you want to go maybe to a different school, or maybe go to the East Coast or the West Coast or the Midwest? Why did you decide to go to Ole Miss?
Well, when I was coming out of school, the SEC was the premier, conference for women's college basketball. And Ole Miss had just won the SEC championship. They were ranked like number 9 or something, number 5. They were in the top 10 in the country. So they were good. I mean, Ole Miss had always been, one of the top 20 or 15 teams in the nation. So they had a good staff, a good basketball staff. They had a good team, always had good teams. They played top competition in Tennessee and Georgia and Florida and all those schools every week. And it wasn't that far away from home. I knew I wanted to get away from home, but I knew I didn't want to go too far away from my mom. So that was one of the reasons. And some of the girls who were already on the team, I had played with during the summer, so I knew them. Ole Miss just felt like home to me.
Right, and then
that was just the bottom line. It felt like home.
Great campus, great sports program, football program. Like I said, the people there, very nice people. I liked my time in Mississippi, and I look forward to going back.
All right,
good.
All right, Yolanda, I want to talk about what you're doing now because you're doing some great things now. You're president of the Yolanda Moore Empowerment Enterprises. That's a personal and professional development firm. What made you, first of all, let's start with what made you decide that you wanted to go into that field and help other people achieve and reach their dreams?
Well, one of the reasons is because of the things that I've gone through. I didn't really have any mentors or role models per se, and I felt like with all of the things that I'd overcome, to be able to reach the pinnacle of my sport professionally, I had to believe that there were, other young women, other girls out there who were facing some of the things that I faced, as a young girl growing up, even as a woman, being a single parent and having dreams and trying to balance life and work and have a fulfilling life. That was the whole purpose of me just helping people. Me starting a business was just for me try to help people hone in on their passions and try to live the life that it is that they want to live, and talk to them and teach them how to overcome adversities, because we are going to face them. It's just how you deal with them that's going to determine the quality of life that you have. And my focus is on young girls and young women because, I can relate to the issues that they face because I faced them myself. So what I do is I do workshops and of course, motivational speaking. I do personal coaching, one-on-one coaching to try to help people, not so much tell them what to do, but just kind of pull out those things that they've kind of got hidden or have been afraid to pursue, just because somebody else told them that they couldn't. I mean, when you have a coach tell you that you have a snowball's chance in hell of making a team, so don't come, I mean, you're either going to do one of two things. You're either going to fold and say, okay, yeah, he's right, I shouldn't go, or you're going to say, to hell with what he says, I'm going to do what I know it's in me to do. And so I think people are afraid to take that approach to life. And it's so, in my mind, it's very simple. Once you commit to the dream that you have, that thing that you always wanted to do, because I'm sure you're doing radio, you're doing what you're doing now. It's always been a passion. I mean, otherwise you probably wouldn't be good at it and you probably wouldn't have done it. And your success didn't come without having to overcome some adversities. So people just need to, understand that you can have the kind of life that you want to have. You can reach your goals. You can pursue your dreams. It's just going to take some work. And so that was the basis behind me starting my company, because I wanted to help people overcome obstacles, to be that role model that I didn't have.
Wow, that's great stuff, and you're right on with the radio. It certainly takes persistence, but this is a passion of both myself and Raphael. And wanted to talk to you about a book you've published and authored, You Will Win If You Don't Quit, A Guide to Setting Successful Goals in 2010. What would you say is the secret to setting successful goals?
I think the secret to setting successful goals is to knowing exactly what it is that you want. A lot of people, you ask them what they want to do and they can't tell you. They either can't tell you or they give you 50 different things that they want to do because they're good at 50 different things. And that's, I think that's the problem when people are trying to pursue something. We all have different gifts, different talents, things that we're pretty good at, but you have like one gift, like that one thing that sets you apart. One thing that you can do that, that comes effortlessly, that you don't have to work at. It's just something that it's that innate ability that you're born with to do whatever that thing is that you do. So I would have to say the biggest hindrance in people setting goals is that they don't even know what they want to do. Like they really don't know what it is that they want to do.
Great point. So it's kind of an idea maybe to simplify some of the things that you're thinking about.
Yeah, right. exactly. You have to be so specific when you're talking about, pursuing your passion, because I feel like a lot of people are trying to be jacks of all trades and then they're master of none because they have their hands in so many different pots. But my philosophy is find that one thing that you do and do it so well that it opens up other opportunities for you to do other things within that field.
Well said.
Right.
We're speaking again with two-time WNBA champion Alana Moore. A couple more minutes with you before we let you go. First, I want to get your take on this WNBA season. In the East, there's a tight race between the Connecticut Sun and the Indiana Fever. Out West, Minnesota Lynx, San Antonio Silver Stars competing for the top spot. The Los Angeles Sparks, we had the owner of the Sparks on a few months ago. They're making a play for it as well. Is there a particular team that you like to take the WNBA championship this season?
Well, I mean, I like Minnesota because they're pretty much returning everybody that they had from last year's championship team. But I do like Indiana. I think that it's time for them. They've been to the championship game before, to the championship series before. They've always been in the top, in the conference. And Tamika Catchings, I just think that it's time. I think that they've got a good group. They've got a good core group, and with Tamika leading the way, I think that this year will probably be their year.
All right, Yolanda, I wanted to ask you about this women's team because Ari and I both love the women's basketball. Ari's more the WNBA. I'm the college basketball guy. So I want to ask you about the Olympic team. We've been getting all the feed here in Israel. We've been watching it. I love watching the Israeli team, but my other team is the American team because I have American citizenship. And Turkey was supposed to be a close game for the Americans, but that was a blowout in the second half. How good is this American team? I mean, it's loaded everywhere. What do you expect the gold for sure?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we have the thing that I love about this team is that everybody on the team, including the point guards, can play at least 3 different positions.
Right.
And they're so athletic at every position. They're so smart at every position. I mean, they're tough at every single position. I don't know if he put Sylvia Fowles at the point guard position, but I'm sure if it came down to it, she'd run it. But I just think that they're so solid across the board that it's really going to be hard to beat them. And I think because everyone on the team has at some point won a championship at some level, college or WNBA or even both, that mentality, that winning mentality, it's just going to be hard for a team to combat that.
Absolutely. And my next question, I'm really hoping you can help me out because I've had this philosophy for a long time and I've been getting a lot of hate about it. And women basketball players right now, even the biggest superstars, play in the WNBA and in Europe in the off season. And for some reason, people have a problem with that. So can you try and explain maybe to our listeners why they do that? Because people think it's selfish and not good for the WNBA teams to do that when they don't realize that some European teams actually pay more money than the WNBA. So can you just tell our listeners why you think that WNBA players do that right now?
Definitely for the money. If we were making, if they were making, millions of dollars, there would be no need. If they were making the money to be able to sustain, a comfortable lifestyle for themselves and their families, then it would be no need. I mean, WNBA players at the lower echelon make, I think it's 37, 38, and maybe up to $40,000 now. When I played, our minimum salary was like $8,000 for the season. Whoa. Not for a month, but for the season. So you're talking about, they're just playing for regular job salary. Even the ones who make the top money only make about $90,000, I think it is, or maybe it's $100,000 now. So they go overseas to supplement their income. Yeah. And a player like a Sue Bird or Diana Taurasi can go to Russia and make $300,000 in 8 months. It would take her 8 years to make that in the WNBA. So, of course, it's a decision based on economics.
Right. And I guess just the criticism is that, what if they get hurt and it's for the WNBA team? But, if you're getting paid more money and you're playing longer for the European team, then maybe it should be the opposite. Maybe they shouldn't even go to the WNBA.
Well, you have some players who have opted to do that.
Right.
You have some players that retire from the WNBA and who are still playing overseas. I think Nikisha Sells is still playing overseas, but she's no longer in the WNBA. So, and there were a lot of players who I played with. It got to be too much, and they were making more money overseas. So the WNBA just was no longer feasible. Unless, of course, you're one of the faces of the leagues, then, of course, there are going to be other opportunities for you during the off season that you can supplement your income and you don't have to go over. But that's, only a handful, just only a few. And, for the rest of us, you got to make a living. You got to eat when the season's not, when it's not WNBA season. I mean, during the season, you get your pay, you have insurance coverage, all of that. Once the season is over, that's it. You're no longer covered health-wise. You're no longer, covered. You don't get a paycheck. So what do you do?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, Yolanda, Ari and I were at the All-Star game here. Ari, I don't know if you remember this. And we were watching the three-point shootout, and someone won. And I remember thinking to myself, who is that? Who is that? I go over and ask someone, and I find out, it's just someone from the New York Liberty who's here in the offseason playing in Israel. So
right, that's right.
We have WNBA players here in Israel, and we're very proud of it. Shai Doron, who's probably considered with the best player in Israel, recently won the championship, of course, with Maryland. Had a short stint at WNBA as kind of the face here.
Okay.
So, yeah, Ari?
Well, we really appreciate this interview. This has been a lot of fun. Great stuff. We'd love to have you on in the future to break down maybe the WNBA finals. But before we get to that point, I want you to give a plug where people can pick up your book and go to one of your seminars or hear you speak. So please tell us how they could do that.
Okay, cool. They can follow me on Twitter at YMore33. You can purchase a book on my website at YolandaMore33.com. It's available for pre-purchase. And it officially is going to be released September 15th, and it'll be in Barnes & Noble's bookstores hopefully by the end of the year.
Okay, great. And like I said, we'd love to have you out again, maybe around the WNBA playoffs.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that. It'd be a lot of fun. And again, this has been a real treat. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll speak to you in the future.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed it. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Thanks, Yolanda.
Be well.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, that was Yolanda Moore, two-time WNBA champion with the Houston Comets, and now she's an author as well as working on personal development, motivation. She has a firm, as we mentioned, she's the president of Yolanda Moore Empowerment Enterprises. So great stuff there. We're going to take a commercial break, and Raphael, tell us who's on the other side.
David Jones is on the other side, and we're going to discuss
my favorite sport.
Right, we're going to discuss some soccer with him. The Premier League is about to kick off in a couple weeks. We're going to have a very special guest helping us with that, but I won't announce that till later. So we're going to have Ari's not going to be happy about this. We're going to have, I believe, an hour and a half or an hour show out of the 2 hours of football that day. Sorry, Ari. But it's just think about if it was a star of the NBA. It's kind of like that.
Right.
And it's with a good friend of our network and a really good guy. But again, I won't reveal who that is. But Dave Jones from Sky Sports, that's kind of like one of the ESPNs of England. And very excited to have him on. He's done a lot of great stuff for Sky Sports. He's been there since 1998. There's also Sky News, which people might know. That's one of syndicated news broadcasts in Europe. So very excited to have him on. We'll even get Ari to ask a question or two. So that'll be fun.
It's a learning experience for me. So.
You should learn a lot by now, Ari. I would hope.
Yes.
Ari, who is on the back? Who is the guy on the back of my shirt? For our listeners out there.
Batelli, I've heard of him.
And what did he do? Who does he play for? What country?
I don't know.
Okay. Italy. I thought maybe you'd remember, but
okay. I've heard the name.
Right. All right. You get points. A good enough effort for that.
Yeah. One day at a time, one step at a time. All right. We're going to take a break, and it's David Jones on the other side. It's Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts.
Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM. You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Drain Seat Seat, compression fit, UV protection, moisture wicking, anti-odor, and physique enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Drains is a revolutionary seat garment that features high-performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Support Barak Netanya, Israeli professional basketball team, as they give back to the children of Netanya through Netanya Hoops for Kids. Netanya Hoops for Kids serves all of the children of Netanya, especially the ones that need us most. Through basketball clinics held by professional players, at-risk children learn life skills like teamwork, communication, discipline, and community responsibility from real-life heroes. Netanya Hoops for Kids partners with the municipality, schools, and local nonprofits to bring thousands of children to basketball games each season. Join us as a donor, partner, or fan. One city, one team, one family. www.netanyahoopsforkids.org.
The biggest names in sports are all on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
DJ Venom. DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event to the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
This is Dimitri Salita, and you're listening to IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Building love of Israel, one sports fan at a time. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live, I want to make a quick correction. I said that we had the owner of the LA Sparks. We actually had the president of the LA Sparks, and so I apologize for that mistake. Our thanks again to Yolanda Moore for coming on the program. That was really a lot of fun, and it'll be great to have her back on. But we're now dialing up our special guest to talk about soccer.
Right.
My favorite sport.
Dave Jones.
And want to remind everyone to check out our store by clicking on the store tab. Great items such as hats, T-shirts, books, and much, much more.
Hi, am I speaking with David Jones?
Speaking, yes.
Hi, David. You're live on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. And for our listeners who are just tuning in, we're on with David Jones from Sky Sports. And a lot of great stuff to talk about. The Olympics, of course, are going on. So I want to start off with that. The football there, it's been great. Some surprises. And let's start off with Spain losing to Japan. People are saying Japan football is getting better. We've seen that in the past World Cups, especially in the women's side. But the next loss was unexcusable to a Honduras team that really does not have a good foundation there. So David, what's going on for the Spanish U23 team? How do they fix this in their next tournament?
Well, I think it's not just Spain. I think the football competition in the Olympic Games has been really strange and really hard to predict. You know, if we start with talking about our own team, Team GB, who've together really just one game before the Olympics started, and were pretty poor against Brazil, and then have managed to come top of their group, which was completely unexpected. And then you look at Spain, and you think, with all that talent that they've got, that surely they would be, if not candidates for the gold medal, then you'd expect them certainly to get to the semi-final stages. I don't know. I think it's very hard to put your finger on exactly what's gone wrong. We're used to Spain walking through tournaments and getting better as the tournaments go on. Maybe this collection of individuals have not gelled. Maybe the coach has got his tactics wrong on this occasion. Maybe people are learning a little bit more about how Spain play their football. And maybe they are just becoming the big scalp that everybody wants, and everybody raises their game individually and collectively when they meet them on the football pitch.
Right, and I've been a huge fan of Western Africa football. I lived in Senegal for a year and a half, so I've loved their effort. It's been really amazing, especially against Uruguay, a team that brought a lot of talent to the tournament and a lot of veterans. Where most national teams do not do that. The guys want to rest, or they just they finish their leagues or summertime vacation. So what do you think is the reason Senegal's been doing so well? Their national team has been really bad the last few years. They had a horrible African Cup. So what's going on with the Senegalese team?
Well, you're right. They did have an awful African Nations Cup, and they've been missing some big players in this tournament. Patrice Cisse of Newcastle was desperate to play. I know that.
Right.
I know that he and Alan Pardew had several heart-to-hearts about that. Demba Ba as well, of course, an overage player they could have called upon, who's shown the Premier League how good he is. So this collection of really ragtag young players, I suppose, who hadn't played too often before, have put in some performances. I think what we have seen from them is some fairly brutal tackling at times. I think that's frightened some of the opponents. I think for a lot of the players in this tournament, the Olympics is not all that it might be. They are worried about playing for their leagues. The teams that pay their wages in a couple of cases in 2 weeks' time. The Premier League starts, for example, on August the 18th, so it's just 16 days away. So why would people be diving into a challenge with a raw Senegalese player when it could, seriously injure them, and they could be out for some time and miss the start of a new season? I think there are some nations for whom this tournament means a lot more than for others. I, for one, don't think we should be watching football for men, certainly at the Olympic Games. I think the Olympic Games is almost a showcase of minority sports, as we're seeing today for Team G.
Right.
We're celebrating gold medals in canoeing and in shooting, things that we don't really associate with British pastimes. But for us, the football tournament, if Team GB gets there, then that really is a bonus. But we're not expecting anything of them.
Interesting. And I want to talk about now the Euro, because there was a lot of talk, at least here in Israel and American media, and of course, I guess also British media, that this Britain team was not necessarily going to do that well in the Euro because of all the suspension, weird injuries, a new coach, Hodgson, being appointed, 6 weeks before, Ferdinand. I can go on and on with all these stories that occurred, and pretty good in my opinion. I wanted to get your thoughts. How did the British people respond to Britain's effort in the Euro?
Well, I must correct you first of all. It was England in the Euros, and certainly not Britain.
Right.
We might have Scotland and Wales in next time, and maybe Israel as well when they expand the nations for the tournament.
Right. My
in 4
apologies.
years' time. No worries. I think our expectations were very low because of everything that had happened, because of the injuries that you talk about, because of the interesting selection decisions, because Fabio Capello departed so close to the start of the tournament and Roy Hodgson had so little time to prepare his team. The best thing that could have happened to England is to go into a tournament with low expectation. For some reason, we think we're guaranteed to go and challenge for quarterfinals, semi-finals, and even to win major tournaments. But we don't have the talent to back that up, I'm afraid. And I think this was a little bit of an awakening, that we have to take a different approach to some sides. We don't have the skill of the Spanish side, maybe even an Italian side. So we have to go about things differently. We have to be better organised, which we certainly were under Roy Hodgson. We have to break pace, and that's what Roy Hodgson is trying to get into, is the team ethic. I think if Wayne Rooney had been fit, if he hadn't had that suspension riding over him and had started the tournament at full speed, then I think you might have even seen England go a lot further in this tournament. As it turned out, we didn't have a realistic goal threat and, a possession. In fact, we didn't have the focal point at the top of our attack, which Wayne Rooney would normally be for Manchester United, at the club side he plays for. So I think that we're looking for a big improvement in England when we start again. They have a friendly against Italy and Switzerland 2 weeks on Thursday, 2 weeks today. So we're hoping that we will have some young players playing in that can get some experience, and maybe there'll be a glimpse that our World Cup campaign 2 years' time might bring us even greater rewards.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on now to a little preview of the EPL. And I think it's going to be an exciting year, especially after the amazing finish. That was probably one of, I love watching basketball, football, soccer, tennis, everything. And that last Sunday, the QPR Man City game, that was probably one of my favorite days in sports ever. So my question for you, Man City bringing back pretty much the same team. There's still rumors that they're going to make more moves. Man U has a lot of new players. Do you expect Man City to repeat? Is that the vibe right now in England, or what are people expecting there?
They are certainly favourites, and you'd expect that because you would expect them to get better from what we saw. I think the first challenge for them was would they have the mental capacity? We saw they had the ability. Would they have the mental capacity to see off Manchester United in a title run-in? Man United, who've been there and done it so many times before. And here was the new challenger, and they did. They managed to hold them off. So they haven't made any major improvements to their side that we can see, and there's still a bit of tinkering to do. They have to get rid of some of the dead wood, and it's Roberto Mancini's task, really, to keep that squad happy, while there are many players, really, who are not happy in the fringes on the sidelines. Right. So he needs to maybe get rid of 5 or 6 and bring in maybe 2 or 3. Manchester United, I think we'll see them improve. I think, they had a very young side last year. They've only made a couple of signings, but we expect one more big one from them before the season starts. But I think, again, they are the 2 sides that you have to watch, and that is the general consensus. Despite what Chelsea are doing, they're throwing money at it again. Abramovich is desperate for fixture, and he seems to be targeting the same player every time, which is an attacking, creative midfield player. But you can only play maybe 2 or 3 of those in one game, and I don't know what he's going to do with the rest of them. And it's up to Roberto Di Matteo to try and find the right balance and the right way of gelling that team together. I don't see them as being a title threat this season, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right. And I think what's interesting about this Man City team, as you mentioned, a lot of guys who they could maybe go to other teams and get a little more playing time. It's such a talented team. So I wanted to get a little update on a few players just to hear what you've been hearing. What is going on with Dzeko? Will Dzeko be staying?
I'd be very surprised if he did. And I think he's one of the players that they're waiting for somebody to come in and make a big offer, a Bayern Munich or a Juventus, to get him off the wage bill so that they have the money to go and buy somebody else. I still also think, despite the fact that Carlos Tevez is pledged that he's happy, that he'll be another one they would be happy to let go, despite the fact that he and Aguero really kicked together at the end of the last season.
Yeah,
I think that he would be someone again they would welcome to see going.
And one of the big new stars in football, Marco Balotelli. Do you expect him to be on the squad in a few weeks?
Absolutely. I see absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever. Manchester City know what they have on their hands. Potentially one of the very best players in world football. He's grown up in the public eye. He's made rash decisions in Italy. He's made rash decisions in English football. But you saw in the Euros glimpses of what can be one of the very best players with his explosive pace, his dynamic finishing, and just an outrageous talent that he possesses, which so few do. There is absolutely no way that Manchester City are letting him go.
Okay, great. That's great to hear. He's a favorite in Israel. A lot of people have his jerseys, including me. Now back to Man United. After last year's, I don't want to say crumble, but they were up by, 8 points in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks or less. Do you feel like Sir Alex believes that he has to win a title this year? They have to, they have to be champions again. They can't let City repeat.
I think that Manchester United are playing their own game now. I think when you look at the kind of finances that Manchester City are able to call on, they can even blow Manchester United out of the water. They can't compete on player wages. They can't compete on sponsorship, despite the fact that Man United had this incredible shirt deal with General Motors, which was announced just last week.
Right.
But Manchester City are still in a different playing field. So I think that Sir Alex Ferguson has to approach it in his own way, get the best out of what he does and his team. There's a theory here in England that if he wasn't the manager of Manchester United last season, Manchester City would have won the title by Easter. Never mind going through till the last day of the season.
Right.
That's the difference that he has made to Manchester United.
Right. And this is Israel, and of course, the Tottenham known as the Yids, And we have a lot of Tottenham listeners listening right now, so we got to talk about them. A lot of stories going on there. Harry getting fired or resigning, still that's a huge confusion in my opinion. But what do you expect from this year's team? I mean, Gareth Bale signed a new contract. He's going to be there. He's an amazing, amazing player. It's been awesome watching him. But can this team compete for the top 4 this year? I mean, last year they amazing the first, 4, 5, 6 months, and then just fell apart at the end. What's going to happen with this year's squad?
I was certainly surprised by the way they handled the Harry Redknapp situation, and I have to declare an interest and say that I'm quite close to the Redknapp family. I work very closely with Jamie at Sky Sports, and I follow the Redknapp situation very closely, obviously. I said to you before that Manchester City and Manchester United will be challenging for the title, holding off Chelsea, but I don't think there's any doubt that in that next echelon of clubs in England comes Arsenal and Tottenham, and there will be no challenges to that top 5 in my eyes. I think Liverpool have got some way to improve, and Newcastle United, it would be amazing if they were to have that kind of season. I suppose it's really the unknown for Tottenham under Andre Villas-Boas. He had a really disappointing spell at Chelsea, despite the fact that they went on to become champions of Europe. I think that was despite what he did with the team rather than because of it. So we wait and see the impact that he can have on a club that has done very well, and some would say performed beyond their abilities. I think for them the important thing is really to sell Modric just as soon as they can, take the money from Real Madrid. I'm not sure exactly what they're offering, but I think it's some way short of the 30 million that Tottenham would like.
Right, a lot.
They need to take that money and rebuild, get João Moutinho in, strengthen that midfield, not rely so much on Scott Parker, whose body I think is letting him down because he throws himself about so much. They need to sign Adebayor and count on his goals. And Gareth Bale can be just, one of the best players, if not the best player in the Premier League, like you said.
And I know this is a random question, but Lennon, I've been a fan of him for so long, and he does not really get that much playing time, or didn't last year. What do you expect for him this year? I mean, he's played for the national team, so I wish that he'd get a little bit more playing time.
He's had all sorts of injury problems. You know, he's been plagued by injuries, and I don't think Harry ever really felt that he could rely on him. There was a couple of stories about his mental fragility in terms of, how he would perceive his own injuries. So the physios were saying he's okay to play, and I think Lennon was having a doubt in his own mind whether he was actually fit to play. There was also the different formation that Harry wanted to play. He wanted to play with the 2 holding players at times, Sandro as well as Scott Parker, and he didn't feel he could afford to play Van der Vaart and Lennon. I think that Tottenham are at their best when they have 2 flying wingers, when they've got Lennon bombing down one side and Gareth Bale bombing down the other. And I wouldn't see a place in that best Tottenham side for Rafael van der Vaart, although he did score some very important goals for Tottenham in the time that he's been there. I'm not sure that we will see a consistent season again from Aaron Lennon. I don't know if he has the blueprint that Andre Villas-Boas is looking for, someone who can work back as effectively as they push forward. So I think it's uncertain times for him, I'm afraid.
And we can't have you on without talking about the great saga of Van Persie. We've had a lot of great people on from ESPN to break it down for us. Our good friend Tommy Smith, I think a couple months ago, said he expects him at Man City. That's what I remember. This is going on for so long. This is one of my favorite things about football, besides the football part, just kind of the he said, and this, and the agents release this and that. But David, at the end of the day, what's going to happen with this? What do you expect? Is Juventus out? Is this only down to Man U or Man City? Is there another contending team? Can you give us some analysis?
My perspective on it is that Van Persie will not be an Arsenal player by the end of January. And I would be amazed if he started the season playing for a different club in the Barclays Premier League. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if there has been some agreement behind the scenes whereby he will be allowed to leave the club for the right money, but only if he doesn't stay in England. So I think in that sense, Juventus would be the obvious candidate. I just think that he's a player who's Arsenal through and through, and he has shown them great loyalty in the same way that they have shown him great loyalty, despite all his injury troubles down the year. And it's really, you have to remember, it's really only in the last 18 months that he's repaid them. That's the time that he's been fit and been scoring goals for fun. I think it would make sense to sell him, because there is no point in keeping an unhappy player, but only if they can get a fee for him, which they can reinvest into the side. I've been a little bit surprised with Arsenal's transfer business yet again. On the face of it, Giroud looks a very good player. We know all about the skills of Lucas Podolski. Santi Cazorla is a great talent in European football, there's no doubt about that. But again, we're talking about the same types of player, attacking midfield players. When you would suggest maybe that Arsenal need that really commanding centre-half, or a holding player that is going to release Alex Song to be more of an attacking threat. I think that Arsene Wenger, despite all his proclamations, is preparing for life without Van Persie. And from my opinion, the sooner that can happen, the better it would be for Arsenal, the faster they can move on.
Right, and I'm being told by Fox Soccer's Mark Serber, who's a good friend of the program. He just chatted me right now that according to the American media, not the British media, it's been being reported that the agent of Van Persie is saying that his deal is pretty much done with Juventus. I don't know if that's breaking news or anything, but that's just an article.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
That would confirm my suspicions, certainly. But, I'm amazed, really, that Italy had the money. Italian football has the money to play him at that kind of level, to outbid a Manchester City or a Manchester United. That's why I'm saying to you, I suspect that Arsenal would not be prepared to sell to a team in the Premier League, but they would be prepared to sell at a lower price almost to a team in Italy. So Juventus, I don't know how much they're bidding, but if we say, for example, £15 million, I would expect or suspect that Arsenal would not sell to Manchester City for 25 million. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Unfortunately, we got to run, David. We've had a blast. It's been great, and we'd love to have you on in the future to help us break down the Premier League.
No problem. I mean, that's our duty on Sky Sports every week. We've been doing it for 20 years, and hopefully we'll be doing it for another 20 more. So I look forward to speaking to you again.
Absolutely. Have a great night, David. Enjoy the Olympics.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well. All right. Great stuff there.
Yeah, very a great source, a great person to have on the show. I did not realize exactly. I knew he worked for Sky Sports, but I had not read his resume or looked at it. He's been involved in soccer media for 20 years, so it was a pleasure having him on. Definitely knows his stuff and was really. I love interviews like that. That's all I can say.
Yeah, he really. I mean, even as a guy like me that doesn't really follow soccer much, you could tell that
I learned a lot from the interview. So
right. At Sky Sports, I mean, I plugged this on Facebook, and about 1.5 million people are in Sky Sports group. Sports group. So
our page, yeah. So I mean, this, like I said, it's pretty much it's kind of their ESPN there, because I'm pretty sure they don't show games, but they kind of do analysis for games. It's kind of weird in England. ESPN shows a lot of the games, which is kind of weird, and so does BBC. But we won't get to BBC because we don't really like BBC here in Israel. But
I only said one or two anti-Israel comments.
Yeah, this month or this week,
like in the last couple of minutes.
Right. Someone out there is probably tweeting us at BBC saying we're bad for saying that. But
say what you want to say. I don't care.
Right. Juventus. Anyway, got to report this though, Ari. This is kind of like the LeBron decision for you in your eyes. It appears Robin van Persie's agent is claiming that he will be leaving Arsenal, my team, and Cub Union's team for Juventus, which play in Italy. I'm actually looking at a Juventus jersey right behind me. We have a lot of jerseys in our studio, and big move for Juventus. They just won the Serie A. And one of the best footballers in the world will be joining them, according to ESPN. And like I said, we got a chat from our friend Mark Serber with Fox Sports saying, check this out. This is just was been reported. So, yeah, breaking news on Louis Live.
There we go. All right, now tell us who is on the other side. People might confuse him with Andy's brother, but he's not.
And when you say people, you mean?
Like Andy's friends and family.
Right. Okay. Up next is Dave Gershman, and this is actually a pretty cool story. He's a pretty young guy from what I understand, but he writes for ESPN now. He's a staff writer, and he mostly writes for ESPN Florida. In fact, let me get you his title right now. Miami Marlins / baseball writer at ESPN, but I've looked at his profile, his Facebook profile, and he writes about other stuff, obviously, because if you're in this business, you got to know more about than just the team you specialize on. So let's have a great trade talk with Dave.
Yeah, that'll be great stuff. That's on the other side. This is Louis live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. I want to remind everyone to check out the story.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts.
Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM. You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Strain Seat C, compression fit, UV protection, moisture wicking, anti-odor, and physique enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Strain is a revolutionary seat garment that features high performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Support Barak Netanya, Israeli professional basketball team, as they give back to the children of Netanya through Netanya Hoops for Kids. Netanya Hoops for Kids serves all of the children of Netanya, especially the ones that need us most. Through basketball clinics held by professional players, at-risk children learn life skills like teamwork, communication, discipline, and community responsibility from real-life heroes. Netanya Hoops for Kids partners with the municipality, schools, and local nonprofits to bring thousands of children to basketball games each season. Join us as a donor, partner, or fan. One city, one team, one family. www.netanyahoopsforkids.org.
The biggest names in sports are all on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
This is Dimitri Salita, and you're listening to IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Building love of Israel, one sports fan at a time. IsraelSportsRadio.com. You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts.
Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM. You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Strain Seat C, compression fit, UV protection, moisture wicking, anti-odor, and physique enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Strain is a revolutionary seat garment that features high performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Support Barak Netanya Israeli professional basketball team as they give back to the children of Netanya through Netanya Hoops for Kids. Netanya Hoops for Kids serves all of the children of Netanya, especially the ones that need us most. Through basketball clinics held by professional players, at-risk children learn life skills like teamwork, communication, discipline, and community responsibility from real-life heroes. Netanya Hoops for Kids partners with the municipality, schools, and local nonprofits to bring thousands of children to basketball games each season. Join us as a donor, partner, or fan. One city, one team, one family. www.netanyahoopsforkids.org.
The biggest names in sports are all on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event to the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
Dimitri Salita, and you're listening to IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Building love of Israel, one sports fan at a time. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live, Ari Louis and Raphael Geller here from Jerusalem, Israel. It is 7:36 here. And while we get the contact information for Dave, we're just going to talk about some stories. I want to get Ari's thoughts on a story that I just read, which almost made me throw up. The Lerner family is going to be selling the Browns for over $1 billion.
Well, again, the weird situation with this, the Dodgers being sold at $2 billion, people said the Yankees might be able to be sold at $4 billion, but their worth is not at $4 billion. The Browns' worth is not at $1 billion. The Browns suck. They're terrible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So the idea that the Browns are worth half of what the Dodgers are worth is insane. I mean, by the way, whatever it means to people, this Browns team franchise is not the same as Jim Brown's Browns or the Browns of the 80s that almost beat John Elway, as we see here in the studio, the picture of the legendary quarterback. It's not the same type of thing. These are the crappy Browns with Tim Couch, and I don't know who even plays for now. I mean, Cleveland Richards was excited they got to 6 wins. So this team's only been around a few years. They suck, and I don't know how he got $1 billion for it, but kol kavod, as we say in Israel, for getting that type of money for the Cleveland Browns.
No. Hold on. He hasn't. Oh, wait, he sold it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was rumored to be that he was. So he got $1 billion.
He got $1 billion, yeah.
Wow.
This is the same Lerner, by the way, that I believe owns the Washington Nationals.
No, I think it's different.
They're different?
Yeah,
okay.
This Lerner owns Aston Villa, which is a football team in the United States, in Europe. So, another big story there. I'm trying to. The new owner now is Haslam. I'm trying to get you a first name on that. Jimmy Haslam, who is the president and CEO of Tennessee's based Pilot Flying, the largest operator of travel centers and travel plazas in North America with 550 locations. So, yeah. Wow. So, I mean, it just makes you think, though, Ari, if this team could be sold for $1 billion, let's look at their division, the Ravens.
Oh, what about the Patriots? So the Patriots got to be $2 or $3 billion, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it's crazy that you think about it this way. Steinbrenner bought the team for $10 million in the 60s. And if they sell it, and we've talked about this with Barry Bloom on our show from MLB.com. I mean, if they sell it, they can get $4 billion. Ari, I wanted to ask you about this. Do the Steinbrenners have the same kind of passion?
All right, just a little noise outside.
Yeah, we hear some
studio.
noise outside. Even with all the soundproof in this room, we can still hear some yeshiva boys out screaming about something. And that's Israel. That's just a great example. This is Israel Sports Radio. But I'll try and continue with my thought. But all right, the Suns, I believe, what is it, Hank and
Hank and Hal.
And Hal, right? Very Jewish names.
Is Steinbrenner Jewish? George, was he Jewish?
No, I don't think he was Jewish, but Hank and
Okay.
Hal Jewish names, or Hal at least. That's a good. I feel like this is what thing. No, I don't think he's Jewish. I think everyone would know if he was. We're gonna look that up for you right now. But all right, my question for you. I'm gonna finally ask you: do they care about the team as much as their dad did? I
No
mean,
way.
Money wise, they're not dishing out the money they used to. And we can kind of see that with all our trade talk and all our free agency talk. I mean, they haven't been players. They didn't try and get Cliff Lee. They're not trying to spend money. I mean, does this though mean that the Yankee brand is going to go down in value? No, right? With all that history, can it?
First of all, if you go to Google and you type in "was George Steinbrenner," the first thing that comes up is Jewish, and the fourth thing comes up was George Steinbrenner a Jew. So this is a thought in other people's minds.
Right, and Ari and I have had a long discussion about typing
Googling
things
what
on
comes up.
Google. If Moshe's listening out there, he's probably laughing. Actually, let's give a shout-out to Moshe because he is right now at a wedding for his best friend. He's been in charge all week of kind of coordinating things for his best friend's wedding. So shout-out to Moshe, even though you're not listening and you're at the wedding.
Was he the Shomer too? Probably, right? He was probably watching him last night.
Probably. Who knows? But anyway, that's just an interesting story out there. And new big story out of New York. We just had our good friend from Jews for Tebow, or Tebow for Jews. Tim Tebow and the Jets have installed a new
Wildcat offense.
Right, a new goal line formation, and Tebow did well at that, which honestly is not a shock. But Ari, I mean, what do you think of this? Is this good? Is it for the Wildcats for the Jets? It just seems so weird to think about
Well,
it.
they're tailoring it for him, but I mean that's an obvious statement. But I think that's a good idea. This is his strong suit. This guy is very difficult to tackle. He's built like a lineman. He's 240 pounds, and he's pretty much all muscle. So I think this is a great idea. Even if he gets a couple of yards, he's going to bang the hell out of the defensive line of the opposing teams for the Jets, and that's going to wear them down. I would run this as early as possible. If you get the goal line in the first quarter, run this thing, and get it. Even if it takes a couple of times to get in, it's going to tire them for later on in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't know, the Jets. I've never thought of them as running teams, or as a Wildcat team. So that's exciting. Just to give everyone some updates from the Olympics, Russia and Brazil. Russia is winning at halftime. Of course, the head coach of the Russian national team, Ari, is David Blatt, the head coach of Maccabi Tel Aviv. So deep down, since Israel's not in the tournament and USA will probably win gold, got to root for Russia to medal just because there's an Israeli representing them, and a great person, a great human being. In fact, we need to really get him on the show, Ari.
Absolutely.
We had Derek Sharp on, assistant coach and longtime Maccabi Tel Aviv legend on, and that was great. So maybe we can figure out a way to have David Blatt on the show. But another story which has been very interesting, Ari. I don't know if you've listened to it. Ari kind of alluded to it yesterday. The Chinese badminton team getting disqualified for purposely losing a match. This has unfortunately gotten a lot of publicity just because it's controversy and it's the Olympics and a billion people are watching. So, Ari, this goes back to things that have happened in baseball, basketball. Losing games, I mean, is that okay? I mean, why do they do it? I know for this case because they just wanted to get a better seed. This isn't even a Pete Rose case. They wanted to get a better standing in their next round. They just tanked the game. So,
well, it's very important that things are stopped when it comes to people losing on purpose, because there's no room for that in sports. I don't care they're trying to get a better seed. That's how the integrity of the game is on the line when you lose on purpose. And if Andy's listening, no, the Colts did not lose on purpose to the Jets a few years ago. That was resting Peyton Manning so he'd be fresh for the playoffs. It's okay if you don't give your A game all the time if you want to rest a team for a higher round or for the playoffs in general. But losing on purpose for any reason is not okay and not good, and they should be disqualified, and I'm very happy they were.
Right, and now the coaches are being looked at, so it's becoming one of those, kind of things that happen at the Olympics where you don't like to see them happen, but they kind of happen. Ari, like at every Olympics, you got to have that controversy that people talk about. And just looking at the medal count right now, China's up 32-31. 18 gold medals. The United States 14 gold medals. And Japan having a great Olympics, having 17 medals. And to look forward to coming up later not this week. Wow, it's already Thursday. Next week, track and field starts, Ari. And Usain Bolt didn't do well in the qualifying in Jamaica before the Olympics. He's just a phenomenal athlete. He again did really well in the last Olympics. But is this kind of a new thing that we see, Ari, that these guys have an amazing Olympics, and then 4 years later we just can't expect the same form? We got to look for new stars.
Well, I think the media gets tired of doing the same story over and over, and what they like about the Olympics in general is that there are new stories. You have all these new athletes. The average Olympian is not a career person like Michael Phelps or Carl Lewis or NBA players. They are pretty much there for one, maybe two Olympics. They have a great story if they can get gold, and they're in a different type of situation like Carrie Strug when she hurt her leg and was still able to finish. It wasn't like she then won gold another time and won a bunch of golds. But people remember that because of that one shiny moment, if you will. It's almost like college basketball. There's a story there. Then the kids graduate, move on. Sometimes they come back and win multiple titles. But with the Olympics 4 years apart, most of these guys are journeymen, if you will. They're going to have their one shot. That's why people are really into it. And then they're going to go on. So the media likes different stories. They like different people, more people to talk about.
Yeah, but at the same time, we might be talking about the fastest man in water and fastest man in running-wise. So these aren't just guys who are good. These are maybe some of the best of all time, especially I don't think anyone would say that Michael Phelps is not the best swimmer of all time. Some people, I guess, can make arguments for our boy Mark Spitz, but I don't know about that. Here's another interesting story, Ari. I know you're always into these weird, juicy stories, so I'll give you one to talk about.
Absolutely, baby.
Monty Bell last year was one of the top running backs at Wisconsin. A great player, top, I think, 5 in the Heisman, was invited to the Heisman ceremony, randomly gets beat up by 5 guys in the middle of the night.
Was this at the Olympic? I'm sorry.
No, University of Wisconsin football player. Was in top 5 in Heisman.
I don't understand how 5 average guys could beat that guy up.
5 against... Wait, you mean he should be able to beat them up?
Yeah, look at him.
I mean, he's a running back. He's 5'10". He's big.
Oh, come on.
5 guys... 5?
This guy is a Division I athlete. 5,
Ari. I think if 5 guys surrounded Arnold Schwarzenegger, Arnold would have problems. Think about it, Ari. 5 people, you have nowhere to run, nowhere to... You can't. I mean, this isn't Neo from The Matrix.
I guess it's not right. These movies or TV shows where one guy takes out 5, I guess it's not so realistic. I've been lied to. But hold on, if 5 guys surrounded Mike Tyson, you don't think Mike would...
But you can't compare Mike Tyson to a college football running back.
I guess.
This guy was in high school 3 years ago.
Yeah, but when Mike was in his prime, he was 21.
But Mike was a boxer, and he trained all day to hit people.
Yeah,
this guy trains to run through people. Think about it. He trains to run away. So my question would be why he didn't run away. Maybe I don't agree with you on why he couldn't beat up 5 people. I think you need to think about that, Ari, a little bit more.
He's all muscle. He trains. I mean, he's dealing with athletes hitting him. He's got to get up and keep going. If they're punching him and stuff, couldn't he run through? Maybe he's quartered in an alley, but he can run out of it. I don't know. I find it. He must have been drunk or off his A game or something. He must have been tired, like up all night studying for test. Or didn't have his cup of coffee. What's this kid's name again?
You never know it. What's this kid's name? Probably the best running back in college football. Give him some respect.
So there you go. Even more so. He needs to take out 5 men. He's the best running
back.
Well,
I'll let you have. This is radio, and that's why I can say that is a stupid opinion, and you could think that my opinion is silly.
Remember when Mo Vaughn got beaten up when he was on the Red Sox?
Mo Vaughn is I wouldn't call Mo Vaughn strong. Mo Vaughn's a big guy.
Right.
I mean, Mo Vaughn struggled walking sometimes. So, wow, Mo Vaughn.
Mo Vaughn got beaten up. He was like stand up for his girlfriend or a date or something at some bar, and had a big black eye and he missed a game or two. And then the next game he was at Fenway Park, he got a standing ovation. So the Boston faithful
They
love the fact he
appreciated-
stand up for his women.
That's Boston people. Watch The Departed and watch Good Will Hunting. Watch those kinds of Boston films where you can see that. You
don't got to win the fight, just got to be in it. But, speaking of athletes that got their ass kicked, I don't know if you knew this, but there was a hockey player that used to play for the Flyers, and I believe it was Chris Chelios, who had a bit of an arrogant problem.
Yeah.
He got his ass kicked by a figure skater, but it turned out the figure skater was a black belt karate or something. But he would start with him at some bar, and the figure skater had enough of it and kicked his ass. So it does happen, but you generally would think a professional athlete would win fights.
I guess. I don't know. I don't agree, but we can agree to disagree.
If five guys surrounded Oscar De La Hoya, wouldn't De La Hoya win? He would be so fast.
But you're talking about
boxers and
box. Well, okay, think about it this way. What about all the times when all these NBA players either get mugged?
Right. Well, but don't they have guns and knives and stuff?
I don't know. If they have knives, who cares? These guys, guns fine, because the gun you just pull it and you shoot. But a knife, you have to actually,
right.
You
maybe they
hit someone's hand. And
Paul Pierce got stabbed at a nightclub, but maybe he got stabbed. Didn't he get stabbed in the back or something?
It wasn't serious. I remember that.
What? I thought he almost died, Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce? Look at I don't remember.
I thought that was part of the reason Paul Pierce has such an attitude issue, because he faced death and beat it.
Maybe. You look it up. I'll tell our listeners about some stories going on right now. We've been talking about this story a lot. Ray Allen left for the Heat, and Doc Rivers is taking the blame, saying a lot of different things. And I honestly don't. I think they upgraded in Jason Terry over Ray Allen. He's a great player, but his time's over. I mean, he had injuries last year. He's been injured for a while. He's going to be a great player for the Heat, but he can't be a starter that you can count on to provide you with great leadership. Not leadership. Excuse me. Scoring and that kind of. You need a young guy. I mean, they're replacing a 15-year guy with Avery Bradley, who actually played in Israel. I believe it was his either rookie year last year or sophomore year. So. I don't know. Doc, I guess you have a very good relationship with all your players, so you're saying that maybe so he doesn't get booed when he comes, but we'll see what happens with that. Another big story, which is important to Israeli basketball and the Israeli basketball community, the Suns signed ex-Longhorns forward P.J. Tucker, who played in Israel and actually beat, all right, pay attention, this is important, beat Maccabi Tel Aviv. This is one of the guys in the championship. It was the year Maccabi did not win. One of them, I think, 4 years.
Jeremy Pargo's team won. Galil Gilboa.
Right. They won. Right. They won the tournament, the playoffs, but I don't think they won the regular season. But yeah, this happened twice now recently, and this was an amazing thing that P.J. Tucker did. He's one of the most well-known players in Israeli basketball the last 10 years. So he worked his way up, went to Germany, played for Bro Baskets, and now he's being signed by who else? Your Suns, all right? So.
Well, right now I'm looking at a picture of Steve Nash in a Lakers uniform, number 10, and it's pissing me off.
You're getting sad. Well, they have who is it? Goran Dragic, who's coming in, great point guard, and they got Michael Beasley. So I think they're going to be a pretty interesting team next year, a young team. And here's an interesting story. I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. We all remember Brandon Roy coming out of Washington, great player, and Portland retires. And keyword there is retires. Then comes back a year later saying, I feel good. I don't know what he said. Just saying, I don't remember what he said, but he's just talking about how he's ready to go and he had a good this and that. If I'm Portland, I'm a bit upset. I mean, he's 28 years old. He came back. He took a year off. You don't get to just take a year off and then come back. I think if you you know what I mean, Ari? Like if you're 35, 36 and you come back, then you say you missed the game. I don't know. I mean, I guess he missed the game too, but still, I just don't like that he retires. That team counted on him. Look at Portland's been a mess. Greg Oden, LaMarcus Aldridge is a great player, but is he a top 3 player? I think he was number 2 in the draft, right? LaMarcus Aldridge, 06?
No, I don't think so.
Not number 2?
I'm going to double check that.
Pretty sure he was number 2. Top 5, I know for a fact. And he hasn't lived up to it. I think he's had one All-Star appearance. So you got to feel bad for Portland, even also with Greg Oden.
Oh, Aldridge was 2. You're
yeah,
right.
okay.
What year? That was the Barnett draft, and Adam Morrison was 3. You're right.
Right,
okay.
right. 06 too. Yeah. So I mean, for a guy who was number 2 now, 6 years ago, has had one All-Star appearance, and it was last year. And like I said, Greg Odom and Nicholas Batum wanted to leave to Minnesota, maybe to join Brandon Roy. So, all right, just your thoughts on Brandon Roy, probably really one of the best guards in the NBA the last eight years when he was at his prime, retiring then coming back.
Well, you're right. I don't understand why retiring the first time. Like, he wasn't complaining about injury.
Yeah, no, it's not complaining. The dude has no cartilage in his knees. So
that's what it is. He shouldn't come back.
I mean, he's saying now he's going to work hard to, to work up. Right now he can only play, I think, 20 minutes, I read. He's going to work up so he can play, starter minutes, 32, 34 minutes. But my thing, Portland's sitting in the chair saying, yo, we let you go because you said you're healthy, or unhealthy, excuse me, and now you're going to go to a Minnesota team. And it's almost like, screw you. I didn't want to play for you, so I said I was injured, but now it's okay a year later. I mean, I don't know. I think there should be penalty. No one's been talking about this as a big deal.
But what type of penalty could you give?
I don't know. I mean, go back and sign with that team at least for a year. I think Brandon Roy was a top 5 pick. I mean, we can check that right now. I think he was in the top 5. Really great player out.
Yeah, he was the 6th pick.
6th pick, whatever. My point is a lottery pick, a great player, 3-time All-Star from 2008 to 2010, All-NBA second team, guys. That means you're in the top 10 players in the NBA. That means that after the first 5, you are right there. So this guy is not just an All-Star. This guy was one of the best players in the league, and boom. I mean, I don't know. Feel bad for Portland because they've had so much, and I'm going to use a Jewish word here, tsuris, the last few years, that they don't deserve it. And I want the people of Portland to do well. I want their game to go back because, Ari, you could tell our listeners how Portland basketball used to be something.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 2000, they took the Lakers to the Western Conference Finals. They were down 3-1 in the series, but take L.A. to Game 7. They were up 15 points in the 4th, and that's when L.A. made their run.
Right, but I was even, history you are, 80s, 90s with Clyde.
Well, Clyde Drexler, they went to the finals 90-92.
Right, I mean.
Bill Walton in the late 70s.
Bill.
They're a small little community, but the
Very
fans really
small.
get up for the team when they're playing well.
Right, kind of like San Antonio, if you think of it. They were kind of like the San Antonio back in the 90s, and since then, it's just been, okay, we're very, very excited about LaMarcus Aldridge.
In 99, actually, and in 2000, they had one of the greatest teams ever not to go to the NBA Finals. They had Scottie Pippen was on that team. You had Rasheed Wallace, Sabonis.
Young Rasheed Wallace. Did they have Abdul Rahim?
No,
rookie year?
No, I don't think he was on Portland. I think he was Golden State, but you had also David Stoudemire. They had a pretty high payroll, believe it or not, even though it's such a small market. But that team...
They have a high payroll now, Ari, with the team that's not doing well.
Portland likes to spend.
I mean, it just...
Paul Ellenwani.
It's just really sad. Brandon Roy, Greg Oden, and LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, we've talked about this with Stephen Howard, who's an Oklahoma City Thunder analyst. We were saying to him, this is what happened in Oklahoma City is what Portland was trying to do. Wouldn't you agree with that, Ari? In the big 3 now... all under 23 years old, all all-stars, all playing for Team USA. Is LaMarcus Aldridge playing for Team USA? No. Is Greg Oden in the NBA? No. Is Brandon Roy on Portland's roster? No. And the thing is, Ari, you and I, we always criticize teams when they do something wrong, right?
Sure.
They didn't do anything wrong. They
had a lot of bad luck.
Greg Oden's need was destroyed. In my opinion, I never should have drafted him. With the 1 pick. He had a broken wrist in college. I think people forget that, or a sprained wrist or whatever. I don't know. It's very sad for Portland, and Chavad is all I can say. And I hope they're probably gonna. Who did they take this year in the draft? They took another interesting selection. They took that guy from Weber State, Damian Lillard, who's from a small school out west. Hopefully they'll be able to do well with him. They got another guy at 11. We're going to look that up for you right now. But, I mean, right at this point, if you're a Portland fan, you got to say, what's next for this team? You can't you can't really rely on anyone to. They took Myers Leonard at 11. Two selections that were very controversial. Damian Lillard and Myles Leonard, two guys that are not going to make an impact next year. Maybe Damian will be able to, but Myers definitely not. So yeah, I know that was just my rant on Portland. I know that was kind of out of nowhere, but you just got to feel bad for Portland and what they have been through the last few years, especially when they didn't do anything wrong. A few more interesting stories out of the NBA right now. Nate Robinson, we all remember him as being the 3-time slam dunk champion. Unfortunately, that's all we really remember him as. Signing with the Bulls. The Bulls are trying to get some bench to fortify their bench because of Derrick Rose being out. Warriors re-signing former Kansas standout Brandon Rush for 2 years. And, all right, you'll like this. Lakers, Barnes out of jail. So someone bailed him out. We'll see what happens there. And just to update you.
Huge fine on the driving on the suspended license.
Right. And Russia right now is ahead, playing very, very well against Brazil. Brazil's a great team. Just to recap the games in the Olympics today, the basketball games, France beat Lithuania. Very, very good game for the French team. The French team started horribly off to Ari Louis's, and I'm going to call them Ari Louis's USA. Tony Parker, 27 points. And Ari, you remember Tony Parker was in that, you'll love this too, Chris Brown Drake bar in his eye. He had major eye surgery and now plays with goggles.
Right.
So the people said they didn't think he'd play that well, so that's kind of a joke. 27 points. Lithuania, Ari, used to be one of the best world basketball powerhouses. That's over. France now seems to be the new thing. Boris Diaw, former All-Star on your Suns.
Yep, former Phoenix Sun.
Right. Nicholas Batum, who had a huge argument with Minnesota and Portland, will be staying with Portland. Ronnie Turiaf, he's playing on a lot of teams, was on the Heat last year, I believe, so one has a ring. So Tony Parker also I mentioned. Petrius, who played for Orlando. So a lot of depth. Next game, Tunisia against Argentina. Argentina being led by, of course, who else? Manu Ginobili, 24 points. Luis Scola, another All-Star, 20 points. Andres Nocioni, 3 points. Carlos Delfino, NBA player, 21 points. So a lot of talent on that team as well. Not as much as the Spanish team. The Spanish team tonight will be playing Great Britain. Big news in Israel. The Israeli powerhouse Maccabi Tel Aviv just signed. Ari, you'll remember this. Who did you see when you went to go see Team England? You went to go see Luol Deng and
Pops.
Pops is now coming to Israel. Pops Mensabau, who is a former standout of George Washington, was on, I don't know, Ari, your college basketball history is not as good as the other stuff, but if everyone remembers when St. Joe's and George Washington were in the top 10, St. Joe's was undefeated. They had Delonte West and Jameer Nelson on that team. Do you remember that? I think it was 04, 03.
I think 2003, yeah.
Right. So he was on that team for George Washington, which was in the top 10. So he is coming to Maccabi Tel Aviv, and guess who reported that?
David Dewey Pick,
right. So big news there. Then tonight, Ari Louis, you're welcome to come watch with me. I'm inviting you right now. Nigeria will play in the United States. You'll probably be asleep, but you're welcome to come watch because I know we're watching the USA-Spain game together. So that's a recap of that.
All right, so what we're going to do right now, first I want to say real quick we have Paul Pierce before we play the Kurt Schilling interview.
What happened?
So this was the stabbing incident that happened September 25th, 2000. Pierce was stabbed 11 times in the face, neck, and back and had a bottle smashed over his head while at the Buzz Club.
Okay, I did not know all this, so go on.
A late-night dance club in Boston's Theater District. He had to undergo lung surgery to repair the damage. But he did start. He was the only Celtic to start all 82 games in the 2000-2011 season.
That's irony.
Yeah.
But, yeah, very serious injuries there, obviously.
How could you be a Celtic and not start due to, like, how could you be Eddie Celtic that year and miss because of an injury after Paul Pierce gets stabbed?
Yeah, how can you, my ankle hurts or my hand hurts. You know, the worst is baseball, though, Ari, when we see guys who don't play because their elbow's sore. I mean, pitchers, I understand. But when we're talking about guys who, it's just ridiculous. you would say, I mean, you went on a rant a couple weeks ago about how soccer players are, I won't say the word that you said, don't have the best fitness, I'll say it that way, in the world.
Okay.
But yeah, shout out to Pierce, and I believe Shaq gave him the name of the Truth.
The Truth, right?
The Truth, great nickname. And next year, supposedly, could be one last run for the Celtics. But I feel like we've been saying that now for 2 years. And they signed KG, Ari, to a three-year deal for $34 million. Serious money, not veteran money. So they're not thinking that. And Rondo, wait a minute. We were having that talk with Canary. Talked about Deron Williams and Russell Westbrook being the point guards there. How can you not want Rajon Rondo there? How can you not want Rajon Rondo and Derrick Rose
Well,
instead?
like I said, Derrick Rose I can't because he's injured.
Right, but Rajon Rondo is snubbed? Is that a joke?
I told you this team is not the top 12 players of the NBA. I said they could do better.
Right, but that's I would even argue Jose.
There might be a second team if you took the next 12 best players of the NBA. That they might be able to beat this team. It's possible.
Well, still, just Jose Calderon on the Raptors, and this is not my Raptors bias. He is a better European basketball guard than Russell Westbrook.
That's probably true.
Americans will argue that with me because they're Americans and they don't watch European basketball. But Jose is Spanish, has been successful in Europe and in the NBA. He's not just a crappy player on the NBA. Like I said, top 5 in assists every single year. Yeah, and I think, though, we have a very special interview now.
Yeah, we're going to play the Curt Schilling interview. This was from May 1st, so this was about, we're in August now.
Wow, I think we said a month ago earlier.
3 months ago.
3 months ago.
This was 3 months ago. This was before I took a hit financially, but this was a great interview. We thank Raphael for setting this up and thank Curt for his time. We're going to play that now, and then at 8:30, Brandon McDougal's decision of which team
the decision.
The decision, Israel style. Brandon will decide where he's going to play next season and tell us all about it. So that'll be fun stuff.
Now we'll recap everything.
And end the show. So right now you're going to listen to Curt Schilling. This is Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
The biggest names in sports are all on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
But I'll tell you, first of all, I was in Arizona. I grew up there. So I used to listen to you on the Gambo and Ash show. Do you remember that show?
Oh, yeah.
And,
good time. Yep.
For those of you who are just listening, of course, Gambo is a huge New York Yankees fan and would love to say the Yankees were going to win every single year in his predictions. So what was a bigger thrill for you, winning the World Series or going on Gambo's show and telling him you beat his Yankees in the World Series?
To be honest, they were probably equal. I mean, I had a very good relationship with both Gambo and Ash, and I always enjoyed. They did a lot of work for ALS and for charity and for skin cancer when I was out there. So I always enjoyed getting on and talking and giving Gambo some crap. When I was leaving Arizona, Gambo was one of the guys pushing for the Yankees to make the deal to get me to go to New York instead of Boston. So
oh wow,
yeah, I still talk to him actually.
Okay, and I used to love that show. I basically lived and died with that show. I looked forward to it every day. Now, I heard a rumor that after you won the World Series in 2004, in Busch Stadium, you were partying, celebrating, drinking a beer, and you told a reporter from Phoenix, who will remain nameless, and we both know why that is, you said, "Tell Gambo to kiss my backside." Is that a true story?
Probably. Yeah, I would imagine that was somewhere near the truth, if I remember correctly.
Of course, we're speaking with Curt Schilling, World Series champion winner with the Diamondbacks and the Red Sox. One of the things that people love about you is you're a very personable athlete. You have a great relationship.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. You have a great relationship with the fans. You call in radio shows, answer emails. In fact, I remember my brother played the national anthem on his guitar at a Diamondbacks game. You said, "Great job," and he's kind of surprised because athletes don't usually talk to the fans so much. Why do you think that is? Why is it that you're a cut above the rest and have this relationship with the fans and the other players aren't necessarily?
I don't know that I'm a cut above the rest, but I was a fan long before I was a player. I grew up in the game. My dad, when my dad was alive, my dad always used to tell the story about how on the day I was born, I came home to a ball and a glove in my crib. But I lived and breathed the game before I ever played in the big leagues, so I grew up a fan, and I was always interested in I was always as much a fan as I was anything else when I played. So that was always something I got. I understood it.
And it's great, and I hope that all the athletes who are tuning in recognize that as well because it's a big part of the game. Now, I want to take a little bit to your beginnings because I know that you wanted to play, correct me if I'm wrong, but you wanted to play for U of A and pitch for them. Was that one of your dreams?
I had wanted to go to ASU.
Okay.
That was, yep, I wanted to go to Arizona State. I came close to signing after I graduated high school, but I actually broke my elbow that summer and did not sign a contract and went to junior college, which is the best decision of my life. I went to a small junior college in Prescott called Yavapai Junior College, and we had an incredible team. We went to the Junior College World Series, and I got drafted in what was the final January draft in 1986, and I signed after that season ended.
And legend has it that in the Red Sox system, if you will, that you had an encounter with Roger Clemens, a weight room encounter. Basically he was telling you got to work harder if you really want to make it. So tell us how much that affected your career.
Well, it was a turning point in my career. Actually, it happened in 1991, going into 1992 when I was with the Houston Astros. I'd been traded from the Red Sox to the Orioles, then the Orioles to the Astros, and I was bouncing around, and I was probably on the cusp of being a career journeyman, a mediocre guy, and Roger pulled me aside in the weight room with the Astrodome one day and basically chewed my butt off. He went up one side and down the other, and kind of opened my eyes and made me look at things differently, it wasn't, the next day life changed forever, but it got me to thinking and looking at the game differently, and my career started to change. And 1992, I got traded at the end of spring training to the Phillies, and that began a 10-year run in Philadelphia where I think I established myself.
And did you say after you beat Clemens in Game 7 of 01, hey, thanks for the talk, I appreciate it?
Well, you know what? That was always. I always believe the Lord serves a higher purpose, and things happen for a reason. And when you look at the 2001 season and you realize that Game 7 was Roger versus me, and then if you know me and you understand the backstory and the history of my career, you realize how much bigger of a deal it was to me than maybe people knew. Listen, Game 7 New York Yankees World Series is enough. But I had all this other stuff behind it going it was a very personal, very moving experience for me because there was so many backstories to how I got there.
And of course, in that game, Soriano gets that home run off of you.
Ugh.
Did you think, oh God, that's it?
Listen, that was one of those moments where I made the pitch. The entire at bat went exactly how I wanted it to go. And I got to the count I wanted to be in. I executed the pitch I wanted to execute, and he hit a bomb. And it's one of those things you have to explain to young pitchers. It's the difference between playing in the big leagues and playing anywhere else. Really good pitches sometimes get hit, and in the big leagues they get hit very far. He hit a ball, and no doubt home run on it. What I thought was a great pitch. And I'm watching the ball sail out, and I remember as I turned around to see the ball fly, I turned to my left, and I saw, I don't know why I picked it up, but I saw Mariano Rivera standing up in the Yankee bullpen taking his jacket off, and my first thought was, I just lost the World Series.
And, of course, though, for our Diamondbacks fan base out there, that was not the case in the bottom of the ninth. Mark Ray starts the inning and gets on base. Yep. So did your team have a lot of confidence, hey, we're down, but we got Mark Race coming up. This guy's a veteran. He has the most hits in the 90s. How important was it that Mark Race started off that inning?
Well, I think everybody but me was feeling, I don't want to say good. You never feel good when Mariano Rivera is holding a lead in the ninth inning, especially in the postseason. But I think it was one of the reasons why we were world champions that year. We believed in each other. We had a very firm conviction, a commitment to each other. And, when you think about the guys, other than Tony Womack, Mark Grace was probably the one guy on that team you wanted hitting off Mariano. And, he did what Mark had done all decade long, which was go up there with a plan. He understood the pitcher. He knew what was going to happen, and he executed.
And then, of course, the end of the inning, Luis Gonzalez, now looking back at it, it feels like a blast to the outfield, but it was just over Derek Jeter's head. The feeling at that point, obviously we can't feel it because we weren't playing in it, but how would you describe that to the average fan?
You know, it's one of those things. I didn't go back and actually watch that for quite a long time, and the thing that caught me off guard when I went back to watch that the first time was how fast that inning happened. If you go back and watch from Grace's at bat to Gonzo's blooper, it was like 5 minutes. It seems like an eternity, but the inning happened so fast. And I remember, I'm sitting on the dugout bench, and everybody else is on the railing, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I lost us the World Series. Well, the inning starts to happen, and now me being, I don't know if it's superstitious or what, I don't want to get up out of my seat because I don't want to ruin karma. And the unfortunate part is Randy Johnson happens to be in front of me, between me and home plate, so I can't see anything.
Right.
So I'm peeking around Randy like a 4-year-old and at Christmas time, and it happened so fast. And one of the ironic things, one of the backstories was Jerry Colangelo said before the World Series started that Luis Gonzalez was going to hit a grand slam in Game 7 to win the World Series. And here comes Gonzo, bases loaded, after the year he had, and it was like, oh my goodness, there's no way. Well, then it didn't matter. It didn't need to be a grand slam, but it was an amazing run of emotions because I was as low as I could be when I came into the dugout to, 10 minutes later, we were world champions.
Yeah, it's true. It was a very short inning, like you mentioned, time-wise and amount of pitches. And that World Series, of course, had the backdrop with September 11th. Last September, of course, was the 10th anniversary of September 11th. President Bush threw out the first pitch in Game 3. World Series, big enough as it is, how did that go to just a whole other platform?
Well, it was very powerful. I mean, it was having gotten to know President Bush personally and having the respect I did for him, and seeing him go to the mound. I mean, most you look at most politicians, they'll either throw it from the stands or they'll throw it halfway. And
right.
I remember hearing that Derek Jeter went to him when he was warming up in the tunnel and said, if you don't throw it from the mound, they're going to boo you.
Right.
And he had a bulletproof vest on, and I mean, I can't imagine a more challenging environment to throw a ball 60 feet. And he not only that, but he threw a bullseye, which was awesome. It was just an incredibly emotional time. We had gone to Ground Zero as a team when we arrived in New York, and it was very fresh and incredibly an emotional experience for us. And when you look back on that World Series, if you're not a Yankee fan, it happened exactly how it should have happened. We won the games in Arizona. 3 of the best World Series games almost ever played happened in New York, and they won all 3. And that city got a little bit of a spark, and it was, it's such an incredible place. And I've always had a kind of a love-hate relationship with Yankees, but the fans have always been some of sports' greatest fans, and that period of time was a testament to the strength and the willpower of not just the city but this nation.
We're speaking with 3-time World Series champion Curt Schilling here on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. Curt, I know you've been asked about this probably 1,000, maybe even 10,000 times. I'm going to phrase it a little differently. Did you ever think that a sock of yours would be in the Hall of Fame?
No, I didn't. But you know what? I think one of my strengths it was being able to focus on the moment and stay in the moment. And I didn't. That whole thing, that whole situation in 2004 was a result of some incredible, being surrounded by some incredible people, my faith, and just allowing things to play out the way they played out. Dr. Morgan came up with that radical procedure, and it was either do that or not pitch again that year. And that I looked at that as the series, that Yankee series. That was what I was brought here to pitch, and then ultimately getting to the World Series. That was the series I was brought here to be a part of, and to miss that would have been tragic. And we found a way, and as a team, we did some things that nobody thought we could do.
Yeah, the Red Sox were 500-1 to win the final 4 games, so the Red Sox, of course, accomplished that. And then afterwards, you toured around with President Bush and his re-election campaign, and you mentioned that you have a close relationship with him. What was that like to help a president win a second term?
Well, I don't know how much I helped. I just know that it was any time you're in the presence of the President of the United States, it's an incredibly awe-inspiring thing. But he was it's one of the things that I got to know about him, and he was a very honest man. And I have, as I do with any elected official, I had differences, and I got a chance to ask some very important questions to me. Stem cell research is something I'm clearly involved in and interested in, and during his time in office, he was against stem cell research and a lot of the things that we thought had potential healthy benefits for patients with neurological illnesses. We deal with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and we have for about 20 years. And I got a chance to talk to him about that. And it was while I didn't get the answers I wanted, I certainly appreciate the fact that the man was honest and upfront with me. And that's at the end of the day, that's all I ever want and ask of people.
Hi, Kurt. You're on right now with Rafael. I want to thank you again for coming on. It's great to have you on.
Thank you.
Staying with what we were talking about, I wanted to know what it was like. I lived in New England for a year. I know it's a very liberal place, you could say. What was it like? I lived in Vermont. What was it like? Of course, I'm kind of conservative. I live in Israel, right-wing, Netanyahu fan, all that. What was it like knowing that the ownership of the Red Sox were helping campaign for Kerry at that time while you were on the
it was not something I openly knew. I didn't care. But apparently when I went on Good Morning America and asked for people, the comment was, please make sure you go out and vote Bush. That didn't go over well in New England. I probably received more hate mail, death threats, and negative outpouring from that one comment than anything I've ever done in my life. And I applaud the fact I live in a country where you can openly and comfortably speak your mind about political situations and people, but it was a very negative result. Personally, it has been. I don't regret it. I believe what I believe, and because I believe it doesn't make me right. It just makes me who I am. But it didn't win me a lot of fans up here, and it's been something that cost our charity. The charities that we're involved in, a lot of money people pulled out of our charities. People stopped giving to our charities, which is unfortunate. But you understand that's just the way things work sometimes.
Right, and you got to do what you got to do, and you believe what you believe, and it's good that you didn't back down from that. And then, of course, in the next election, you backed Senator McCain, who's, of course, from Arizona, and you were spotted on the campaign trail with him. I'm a big fan of McCain. He's a big supporter of Israel. I was just curious what it was like meeting him and being around him a lot.
Well, Senator McCain has been a friend of mine. Being from Arizona, I grew up in Arizona, so I've known Senator McCain a long time. And I had a very simple approach to that situation. The things that happened to Senator McCain during the Vietnam War and the things that he did as a prisoner of war. When this man was in what you could call life's darkest moment, and there were no TV cameras around, he made the moral and ethical choice that you hope all men make. And that was to stay with his troops, to not take the easy way out, to not take he could have been released, and he refused. And my opinion is anybody that makes morally and ethically right decisions when there are no cameras on is probably going to do the right thing when they are on. And I didn't agree with everything, and I still don't. But I believed in the man, and at the end of the day, that's what I want. I want people leading this country who are morally and ethically strong human beings, whether they are male or female, I don't care. Black, white, I don't care. I want morally and ethically strong people who believe in what the foundation of what this country was built on. It's sad to think that we've gone to a place where we almost elect the best of the worst options. And that's not what this country was set out to be. But it's unfortunate sometimes that we get to those places. But he's an incredible man. I wish he was a little younger because I really do believe he's what this country needs.
Right. The next thing I want to ask you is, there's been a lot of rumors that you might get involved in politics, that you want to get involved in politics. Of course, I'm not going to ask you to tell us right now on the spot, but down the road, do you see do you see that possibly happening with you? Is that something you'd be interested in?
Absolutely, absolutely. If I currently run 38 Studios, which is a software development company, and you can actually free plug here. You can check it out at 38studios.com. We have a game in the market, and I have almost 400 employees. So, I kind of felt that it was time to stop talking about politics and actually get involved and make a difference. And I have a company that's created almost 400 jobs in what is the worst economy of our lifetime, and I'm very, very proud to be surrounded and associated with this company and the people. And I'm in the private sector, and I understand a lot more than I did 5 years ago about about government and business, and it's not about Republican or Democrat. It's just about honest politicians. And I've in moving my company to Rhode Island, I've dealt with politicians on both sides of the aisle, and I've come to realize that the political affiliation is not what makes people good and bad. It's what they do in the best interest of their constituents, and so this has been an incredibly eye-opening experience for me, and one that I absolutely, if I decide to run for a public office, will fall back on.
Now, Kurt, you just mentioned 38 Studios. I was just about to ask you about that. I got to ask, how does an athlete, such a well-known baseball player, go into the, I guess you could say, the gaming sector? How did you get involved with that?
Well, let's be clear. I mean, from an interest perspective, being a professional baseball player doesn't make me different than anybody else. I've been a gamer my whole life, and,
right.
and it's what I've done. It's what I do. It kept me interested and kept me busy when I played baseball. Obviously, I had a pretty healthy income, so I didn't do jewelry or cars or anything like that. What I did was I came to play games, and it just kind of, after my career, it manifested itself, and it's just a byproduct of what I've done.
Right, and I understand that you, in 1993, I believe you were not able to attend the ASL Oktoberfest, so you decided to kind of create your own event.
Yeah, so I've been a board gamer my whole life too. I've been a very hardcore gamer for over 30 years, and even more poignant story was I have a cousin. I didn't have any brothers growing up, but I had 3 cousins that were boys, and the kid who I grew up with is almost a brother of mine, who I was looking for in the '93 season to invite him to the World Series. Couldn't attend, and I found out that why he couldn't attend about a year later when the movie Black Hawk Down came out. My cousin was in the Delta Force and was actually in Somalia, Mogadishu, and served in the Delta Squad that went in and out of Mogadishu a couple times in that movie. And I have a history of family members that have served, and I'm incredibly proud of that.
Absolutely. Everyone, of course, in Israel, we have the draft. Everyone has to go to the army here, so
Yep.
It means a lot to our country. Speaking of Israel, we are Israel Sports Radio. Have you ever been to Israel, Kurt?
I have not. The closest I've been was in 2008. I had a chance to go and visit the troops in Kuwait and in Iraq. I spent 10 days in theater. Probably the 10 most incredible days of my life. Getting a chance to see up close and personal the sacrifices that the men and women of our armed forces and armed forces, NATO armed forces around the world have made, and it was an incredible experience. And I would love to go back. Would you like to come to Israel one day? I'd be fascinating to come to Israel. I'd be fascinated to do that. Like I said, right now I have 4 kids. I have 3 boys and a girl, and they're moving into high school, and life is incredibly tumultuous for us right now. Okay, well, anytime you're here, that'd be great. I know that Brad Osmus is going to be coming here for a baseball clinics. Believe it or not, there's an Israeli baseball league. A lot of kids. Oh yeah, I know about that. Yep. Okay, yeah. So a lot of kids are playing. It's becoming very big here, which is really cool. The next. So I remember a couple years back. I think the Pittsburgh Pirates signed 2 kids out of Israel to play in their minor league system. Right, and of course we have Sandy Koufax, who's pretty much a legend everywhere, especially in Israel. And look at all the guys right now. We have Ian Kinsler, Kevin Youkilis, Ryan Braun. So it's a great time for Jewish athletes in the professional baseball world. The very under-recognized segment of professional baseball, because there's some guys in the Hall of Fame with Jewish backgrounds, which is it's a testament to a lot of things. Right. Now, the next thing I want to ask you is, you spent, I think, 8-9 years in Philadelphia, and then you spent your time with the Red Sox. Those are both, for our listeners out there in Israel, those cities are I don't even know how to put it, they're just crazy sports cities. They love sports more than anything in the world. Well, they treat baseball in those cities like soccer, I guess you would call it over there. Right. So I want to ask. I don't want to say which one was more. Which one was more difficult to live in, or with more pressure from the fans? But what was it like being able to spend a lot of your career in cities like that, where the ballpark's full every night, every game matters, so much pressure, so much support from the fans at the same time? What was that like? Well, neither one was difficult. To be very, very clear, it was an honor to play in both of them, because when fans do the things that those fans do, they bring the level of intensity up in a way that nothing else can do. And I loved playing in both those towns, and I loved the pressure that the fans brought to the ballpark, because that's what I played for. That's what I wanted to be a part of, and it was an honor and a privilege to put both of those uniforms on and play for both of those teams. And you know, I wouldn't trade those times for anything in the world. I wish we would have won more when I was in Philadelphia, but they were both awesome places to play.
Okay, the next thing I want to ask you about, already talked about this with you a little earlier. You do a lot of charity work, and I think the organization you'd probably say you're the most involved with is the ALS Association. So can you tell our listeners more about what you do for them and exactly what the ALS is?
Yeah, ALS it stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, and it's known over here as Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a neurological illness that there is no cure, and it is fatal. It's something we've worked with for about 20 years. I met a patient named Dick Bergeron back in 1992. The other two charities that we're involved in is the Shade Foundation. My wife is a cancer survivor, and we work for melanoma awareness, and we also work with autism. My 12-year-old son is on the autism spectrum, so you know, baseball afforded us a window of opportunity to reach out and make a difference in people's lives, and we've tried to take advantage of that. All the doors that God has opened up for us, we've tried to do our best in each one and make a difference in people's lives.
Right, and charity work is very important, especially when you have the time and when you have the power. I mean, people look up to you. A lot of people don't realize that an athlete, he also is very good at a sport, but he also has a lot of power of what people think.
Well, yeah, I mean, right or wrong, people tend to listen to celebrities more than they should, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that we have a responsibility as role models, as leaders, to try and do right by other people. And you know, Shonda and I, my wife and I had almost over 20 years in that spotlight, and we tried to do as much as we could to make a difference.
Okay, that's really great to hear. The next thing I want to ask you about is you are, I guess, a part-time analyst for ESPN. That started a couple of years ago. I think you you did the pregame show in 2010 between the Red Sox and the Yankees at Fenway Park. Why did you decide to get involved with baseball, Annis, and where do you see that as a future?
There's two reasons. One, it's a tremendous group of individuals. I really enjoy the guys that I work with: Barry Larkin, Aaron Boone, Steve Berthiaume, Carl Ravitch. It's a phenomenal group of guys. And the second thing is I get to talk about the one thing I think I know a lot about, which is pitching. It's what I did for so much of my life, and the thing that I probably know as much, if not more, about than anything else I've ever done. And it's a format for me to talk to people and help people learn and understand what it is we try and do out there on the mound, and I enjoy that.
All right, Kurt, last question. I'll just you're an honest guy, I'll be honest with you. Next summer, you're on the Hall of Fame ballot. You have an 11-2 career postseason record. That is the best in Major League Baseball history. 216 wins in the regular season, over 3,000 strikeouts. Are you a Hall of Fame player?
You know what? No, I played with Hall of Famers, and I know what they look like. I played with Randy Johnson. I played with Pedro Martinez, and you know, I can see their names and faces on plaques, and I've never been able to see mine. And to be honest with you, I don't give it much thought, and I don't think about it unless I get asked. And I am incredibly proud of the things that I was able to be a part of during my career, and I'm okay. It's not something that, if it doesn't happen, will be a bothersome thing for me. I was oh my God, I lived such a blessed life, and I still do, and I'm grateful for that, and I don't need to get any. If it happens, that would be incredible, and I would be proud and honored, and I think it's as much a testament about who you play with as who you are, and but no, I mean, I don't know that I could comfortably put a check next to my name on that ballot.
I don't think I've ever heard an athlete say something like that before. But that was great. That was certainly honest. No one can dispute that. I could certainly make an argument for you again, and we certainly appreciate the time here on Louis Live.
Thank you, guys.
It was really great. We would love to do it again. I know you're very busy, but sometime in the future would be wonderful. And Kurt, thank you so much for being on Louis Live and IsraelSportsRadio.com. Be well, Kurt.
Take care, guys.
All right, that was Kurt Schilling, three-time World Series champion on Louis Live and Israel Sports Radio. That interview was conducted May 1st, about 3 months ago, before Kurt had all those financial issues. But it was wonderful to have him on, very blunt, very candid, and a funny guy, great personality. You can see why he does so well in television ranks, and hopefully not that we expect him to get all his money back today, but I hope he does get it back because he's generally a nice guy and a well-meaning guy. All right, you IFL fans, you've been waiting for this for almost 3 hours, and we're going to give it to you. We're going to dial up right now the man everyone has been waiting for, they've been waiting to hear from, they want to know where he's going to, and that's Brandon McDougal, star rusher from the Beersheba Black Swarm. We know that everyone is really in anticipation of what Brandon is going to say because any team he goes to automatically becomes a playoff contender and has a chance to win the Ofri Becker Trophy. So we know we have a lot of you listening here, IFL Nation. We appreciate that you're here on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. Brandon came on a few weeks ago to just kind of clarify what was going on as far as the process and just to tell us what his thoughts were, but that he hadn't made a final decision. And we're going to dial him up again right now as we speak. Want to also remind everyone to check out our store. We have items there available for purchase. Of course, the Chagim are coming up, so if you want to make that purchase for family or friend or even enemy, we could sell you T-shirts and books and hats and a lot of great stuff. So that's the IFL. Just want to double check. Okay, hold on one second here. Okay, hold on. We're going to take a quick break. We're having a little issue with Brandon's line right now, is what we're being told. So just hold the phone. This is Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Talk network in the Middle East. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts.
Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM. You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Strain CC, Compression Fit, UV Protection, Moisture Wicking, Anti-Odor, and Physique Enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Strange is a revolutionary CC garment that features high-performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Support Barak Netanya.
Hello. 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 Hello.
Oh, sorry about that, Brandon. Can you hear us?
Can now.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. We have everything straightened out. All right, this is very exciting stuff. IFL Nation tuning in. There were a lot of comments on Facebook about this big moment, but because we're going to have we're going to string this out a little bit, decision style, not have you say the team right away of where you're going to. First of all, as I asked you last time about your health, what is your health like right now? What percentage are you physically?
Physically, I think I'm back at about 100%. 2 weeks ago, we talked, I said I was about 95. Right now, everything seems to be holding up in place, so I think I'm going to be good to go.
Okay, and talk about some of the training you've done in the summer. Were you able to go back to the weight room and get your body in shape and ready for the upcoming IFL season?
Well, as far as training is concerned, yeah, I've been back inside the gym. But the thing is, you can't go hard inside the gym for, 1 full year. You have to do it, space it out, and you do it for a couple months, take a short break off, go hard for a few more months. So I've been able to do that. Been able to do a little bit of running, sprinting, a little bit of explosive training. But for right now, I'm at the phase of the down phase of the training, as far as just taking it easy, relaxing. And then later on, I'm going to pick it back up and get ready for the season.
Okay, and
but the training and everything is going good.
Okay, great. And I remember when we spoke before last season, you had a goal of getting to 1,000 yards, which hasn't been done in the IFL. Then the injury set you back. Is your goal next season back to 1,000 yards? Is that the place you're shooting for?
Actually, it is. I was nowhere near 1,000 yards, in my opinion, I think, this past season. So, obviously, yeah, that's one goal I still have in mind, along with trying to win the championship. So if I can win the championship without reaching 1,000 yards rushing, then I'll be happy with that.
And as we talked last time, as you are a free agent, what has it been like for other teams as far as have they been contacting you trying to give their best pitch and persuade you to join their team for next season?
Well, it's just like what you would see or read about as far as a high school student going to college, or maybe a free agent in the league, trying to switch teams. It's pretty much the same process. Players, coaches, that they reach out and they serve their best pitch, for as better fit the team chemistry, outside of the football field and things like this. So it's been rough. I mean, it hasn't been easy. It's definitely been rough.
And, I noticed that Genderon was one of the gentlemen who was chatting on Facebook when I made this announcement earlier today on the IFL site. The players still, as you mentioned last time, they were very supportive of your Beersheba squad from last couple of years. Are they still supportive at this point, even though you're going on another direction?
Well, honestly, I think they are. Like I said, of course, no team wants to see a player leave, no matter who the player is. I won't say that they're, 100% okay with it, because, no team would be. But I think that they got a better understanding, now than they did probably when the announcement was first made, to the team a few months ago.
Okay.
So I think they're learning to deal with it and to accept it. Just because you accept it doesn't mean you like the decision that's being made.
Okay, so fair enough there. So good, honest answer. And the players, your former teams that are listening at this point, want to know where you're going to go. And again, we're not going to talk about that yet, because the other question I have is your running style is very much Barry Sanders, where you go out to the outside and try to cut around and beat everyone out in the flat. Is that also a factor as far as system-wise, which team you decided to play for next season?
Yeah, actually it is. Like I say, as far as my running style, I try to take advantage of whatever opportunity I'm being presented. Running to the outside obviously has its advantages for me because of, I guess, the speed factor. But also running inside I'm fine with that as well. So when it comes to running inside, then I need an offensive line that can open the holes, or a lead block that can also get in and open the holes as well. If that's not there, then the only other option is to run outside and hope that, I got a receiver there that can, pin a block down, or I got someone pulling to the other side that can actually, get a block as well. So all these things are taken into consideration when making a decision.
And as far as which team you play for, as far as which division, we noticed last year that the Northern Division was a superior division. You had two teams for that division in the title game. The Lions were 10-0, and when they faced a tough Tel Aviv Piners team in the playoffs, they got blown out. But as a competitor, I imagine you want to play against the best. So did you also look at divisions when factoring your decision?
Actually, I didn't. I didn't look at divisions at all. I just looked at what team that I think I will be a better fit for me and for the team itself. So, no, I didn't really look into the divisions at all, because to me it really doesn't matter. It just so happened that the North Division seems to have a better division than the South. But to me, it doesn't matter at all.
Now,
because the way I see it is, if I could play for a team in the South and still, win games, and whether I put up good numbers or not, as long as we can win games, that's all that matters to me.
Now, you had a funny comment when I asked about the transportation, if that was a big deal as far as which team you would decide to play for. And so if you could repeat those comments, that would be pretty funny.
Well, those comments were what I was saying was that, I was trying to make a decision of switching teams. So therefore, I wouldn't be in the South. So wherever I play, I have to drive, whether it's an hour, hour and a half, or 2 hours. And so when I was making the decisions and trying to decide, I was telling people that I was going to do that. Everyone, like I said, made a big deal, like I said, traveling across the world, to rediscover America, like Christopher Columbus, when I'm only driving just an hour and a half, when, Israel is such a small country, you can travel the whole country in 5 hours.
Right.
So, 5 hours in the U.S., you don't cover, seems like 2% of the country. So, like I said, an hour and a half drive is nothing. But I can say this, the only problem is, if I was still staying in Beersheba and I was getting off work, it'd be so much easier for me to make that 8 o'clock, 8:30 practice, or even make it to practice by 9. But with me having to travel hour and a half, and I'll get off the work that late, I won't be able to make practice that day at all. So something like that could be, detrimental to the team as far as helping build chemistry and learning the plays and things like this. So that's one big downfall for that. But like I said, I've alerted just about every team that I've considered, and told them, my situation, and they understand it. So if they're willing to work with me, then I'm happy.
And you were mentioning last time on the program that you might have to only go to one practice once in a while, one practice a week. So the teams that you spoke with, they were okay with that. Right,
because they understand, and of course they're all about winning, just like I am. So they understand the situation. Like I said, I didn't want to come up with any last-minute surprises. I want to lay everything out on the table and let everybody know, as far as my situation is concerned, if they want to deal with that. Because if I were to get the feeling that they don't want to deal with that, then of course I'll then, choose that team to play for.
Now, last we spoke, we also talked about the national team, and Uriel, the commissioner of the IFL, Uriel Sturm, basically told you have to become an Israeli citizen. So any progress in the past couple of weeks about you becoming an Israeli citizen? Did you find a special Israeli woman out there who will marry you so you can be a citizen?
No, I haven't found a woman crazy enough to do that yet. I don't think I'm going to find one, to be honest. So I don't think I'm going to get to play on the national team at all.
Oh, wow.
So I think I'll just be a bystander. But one thing I can say, I was looking at the Olympics, and as if anyone's keeping up with the Olympics and the basketball, Serge Ibaka is not from Spain.
Right.
But he played for Spain. And what they did was they kind of, I guess they adopted him as a citizen, or however they do that. So therefore, he's able to play for Spain. And we also remember the last Olympics, 2008, there was another American player who also played for Germany, along with Dirk Nowitzki. I can't remember the guy's name. But there's another situation of that. So I don't understand why the IFL cannot do the exact same thing. If it can be done in Olympic play, and football or the IFL, or is not even nowhere near reaching the Olympic status, why can't it be done here?
That's a great point. We're getting a chat in for Big Mike Gondelman. He mentioned that Johnny Joe Martitius played, and to our knowledge, Martitius is not an Israeli citizen. We could be wrong about that, but if that's the case, then certainly they made a mistake by not having you on the team. And next time I get a chance to chat with Uriel Sturm, we'll certainly ask him about that. All right, Brandon, I guess it's time. No other thing to ask you about. People have been wanting to know for months which team you're going to play for. As I mentioned, any team you go to is automatically a contender for the IFL trophy, and if you're playing for one of the contenders, it could be a difference between a championship or not. So go ahead, your decision. Next season, Brandon McDougall will play for which team?
Well, first, before I announce, I want to say that give thanks to every team who actually reached out to me, who made their pitch and tried to did their best to make me comfortable with making a decision. And I just want to let them know that I respect them as a team, I respect them as players, and I respect them as IFL players. Just overall, I respect them all. But I'm going to take myself to the Central, which will be in Tel Aviv, and I'm going to I'll play alongside, I would say, my two favorite twins, which is the Corey and Adam Zinker.
Oh,
so
wow.
I will be a Sabre.
Wow, a Tel Aviv Sabre. Okay, so you heard it here first on Louis Live and Israel Sports Radio. Brandon McDougall, star player, formerly of Beersheba, next season will play with the champions of the IFL, Tel Aviv Sabres. So they're going to be a team to look out for, a very scary team and dangerous. What was the final factor in your decision to go to the Tel Aviv Sabres?
Well, besides the fact that they've been in the championship game 3 years in a row, won 2 out of 3, it seems like, from the outside looking in before me even getting to know the guys, that John Sharon has a great mind for the game. And they only had a 3-man staff. And, of course, having a 3-man staff in IFL, it seems to be pretty big. But I also watched on the national team how he was the defensive coordinator for the national team. So I look at it, well, with a guy who can plan an offense and who can plan a defense, just one single guy, then I figured, why not? Also, another thing, John Rubin, I think that's what his name. I heard about this guy before I even started playing. And I've also heard that he has big numbers. One of the best running backs in the IFL had big numbers when he played with John. I don't know how true this is, but this is what I've been told. So I figured that I could be the next John Rubin, if not better.
Yeah, John Rubin was certainly great and won the MVP a few years ago with the Canes. And then you're right, he did go to the Sabres and had a couple of great games before eventually going back to the States. So that will be exciting stuff. Did they contact you, by the way, the Tel Aviv Sabres?
Well, it was a mutual friend, actually, of someone that was a friend with the Sabres and a friend of mine. And they came to me and they mentioned that maybe I should look into the Sabres. And I played around with the idea, and actually this was last season, and I decided I would remain loyal to the Dice Forum, and I decided I was going to switch teams. But this year, I reached out to the mutual friend, and I told them that I would, consider it, and because I was really, shopping for a new team. So once that been said, they contacted me. We sat down, we spoke, along with a few of the other teams. I went and sat down with a few of the coaches, a few players, had a few Facebook messages, phone calls, emails, things like this with like a few of the other teams as well. So, like I said, the process and the courtship was pretty much the same all across the board, whether I reached out to them or they reached out to me. And there was a few teams that I've actually reached out to as well.
And you were at that title game, and you joined me in the broadcast booth for a few moments when the Sabres beat their crosstown rivals, the Tel Aviv Pioneers. Great game. Corey Zinker, co-MVP, along with Adi Hakami, had that great clutch touchdown and a 2-point conversion. And Adam Zinker's brother recovered that football for Mita Ashkenazi. Want to know, though, Larry Kinnisper, Coach K, becoming a grandfather, he is not going to be the defensive coach anymore, but you were still, at the end, comfortable with joining the Sabres, even though they're going to lose Coach K.
Correct.
Okay.
Only because I've picked the mind of John, and I like his schemes. I can honestly say he pretty much is the deciding factor. If he wasn't coaching the Sabres, I can say now I would not be playing for the Sabres.
Okay. All right. Wow. So that was the major factor in your decision. And if you talked about what number you're going to wear the same number as you did with Beersheba?
That is the plan. I plan to stick with number 20, the same number I had before.
Okay, great. And before we let you go, a couple of things. First of all, a prediction of how many yards you'll get this season, and if the Sabres, where you expect the Sabres to go to this year.
Well, first of all, I'm expecting a championship. Anything less would totally not be acceptable. Prediction for yards, I honestly cannot make a prediction because just like any other team in the league, everyone goes out and they explore and recruit new talent. And I'm not expecting to get as many touches as I did with the Black Swarm coming in, because I know that the Sabres have so many talented guys on the field, and the ball needs to be spreaded. So I'm not expecting to get a lot of touches, with the ball at all. I'm expecting to be spread out evenly. My goal is still to lead the league in rushing along with the championship, but I'm not expecting a real big number of rushing yards.
Okay, but your main focus is to win the title, and certainly we'll have a chance to do that with the Tel Aviv Sabres. And last question, Brandon, before we let you go, tell us your feelings and your thoughts towards your former team now in the Beersheba Black Swarm.
I've spoken with those guys. They know I have a high level of respect. I still do anything I can to help them in any way. I have mixed emotions about it. Like I said, I'm looking forward to playing against them if that happens this year. And at the same time, I kind of got a feeling that I don't want to play against those guys because, it's just like someone almost telling you to go and slap your brother or slap your father or mother or something like this. And that's the level of respect I have for those guys. And I definitely don't want to, slap them or smack them or anything like that. But if I have to, I will. I'll be that competitive.
Absolutely.
But, I definitely have a high level of respect for them, and they all know that any point in time they can pick up the phone and call me, and I'll do whatever I can to help them.
All right. Well, great stuff. Very classy with your comments, good sportsmanship to your former team. And, Brandon, good luck with the Tel Aviv Sabres. It's going to be a lot of fun watching you play in the red uniform with the Zinker brothers from Phoenix, Arizona, one of the greatest cities out there in the world. And great stuff. We appreciate you breaking the news here on Louis Live and Israel Sports Radio, and have a lot of great success this season. We're looking forward to it.
I appreciate it, Ari. I look forward to seeing you on the sidelines.
Absolutely, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Be well out there.
All right. Take care.
All right. That was Brandon McDougall, formerly of the Beersheba Black Swarm, now the Tel Aviv Sabres, Tel Aviv Jaffa Sabres. We spoke with Saeed Abulafia before the title game. He's very confident of the victory, and now would have to be a little more confident that he has the best runner in the IFL. Now, they do lose two coaches from last season, Coach Mike and Coach Larry Kay, who is, grandfather. So that was part of the reason why he had to move on and take care of his grandkids. But there you go. There's the decision right here on Louis Live and Israel Sports Radio. And we're going to take a quick break and then wrap things up on the other side. This is Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts.
Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM. You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Drain Seat Seat, Compression Fit, UV Protection, Moisture Wicking, Anti-Odor, and Physique Enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Drain is a revolutionary seat garment that features high-performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Support Barak Netanya, Israeli professional basketball team, as they give back to the children of Netanya through Netanya Hoops for Kids. Netanya Hoops for Kids serves all of the children of Netanya, especially the ones that need us most. Through basketball clinics held by professional players, at-risk children learn life skills like teamwork, communication, discipline, and community responsibility from real-life heroes. Netanya Hoops for Kids partners with the municipality, schools, and local nonprofits to bring thousands of children to basketball games each season. Join us as a donor, partner, or fan. One city, one team, one family. www.netanyahoopsforkids.org. All right, back here on Louis Live. Now, we've got some feedback already. This is a big story. So we're going to go out to a member of the Jerusalem Kings. At least I believe he's still a member at this point. He's thought about retiring, but we're going to have to see. Big Mike, how you doing, my friend?
Thank the good Lord. How you doing, brother?
Doing great. We want to give you a few moments to comment on Brandon McDougal's decision to go to the Tel Aviv Sabres. Give us your thoughts.
Give my thoughts. Listen, the fact of the matter is like, I love John, don't get me wrong, but, like, he had a great staff with Mike and Larry, and it's like now they're both gone. It's, when you have other teams, like, quite frankly, I think Brandon should have came to the Kings. We have a great offensive line. We are returning pretty much the entire team. So, and you saw us coming out at the end of the season, and we were doing amazing. So I think he should have came to us, but that's another story.
Did you guys try to pursue him, though?
Of course. What, are we stupid? At this point right now, he's the best running back in the league right now.
Right.
Why wouldn't we?
No doubt about it. So you guys tried to pursue him. I imagine the Rebels and the Pioneers did as well. You think the Haifa Underdogs, the Northern Stars, all the teams did it. Brandon thought that the Sabres would give him the best chance to win. What do you think?
I mean, honestly, I don't think so. Reality is that, like, one of the things that Brandon needs is he needs to be like a first, a one cut back, and like just simply get out there and get some space, and he'll be amazing. He needs an awesome offensive line. Now the Sabres have a good offensive line, but the reality is that the Kings got like a much better offensive line than the Sabres do. So I don't know. That's just me.
Now,
but then again, I like my squad. I'm loyal to the Kings.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now the Kings got in the playoffs, the postseason last year as a 3 seed, and lost to the Pioneers. If you guys had Brandon McDougal, I mean, I don't know if you want to play this game, but maybe would the Kings be the front runner to win the whole thing this season?
Listen, for sure. Think about it. Like when we played the Pioneers, a major thing that happened to us. By the time we played the Pioneers, we were down to only 18 players. Guys were injured. Like our top 2 running backs were not in the game. We still we put up a much better fight than say the Lions did. The Lions let up almost 70 points, where we let up 32. So
good point.
And that's with all the injuries. And now we're returning the same defense, except what are we doing? We're adding a guy who played linebacker, semi-pro. We've added a couple other guys who are bigger and stronger and faster as well. We have 4 coaches now. It's like amazing. And I just don't understand his logic, but you know what? And I think his chemistry would have won. I think the chemistry of the Kings would have gone great with Brandon. But.
And you mentioned this kind of through Facebook that the loss of Larry Kinnisburg and Coach Mike, you think will have a detriment to the Sabres?
That's about it. It's like Larry Kinnisburg is probably the best defense coordinator in the league. You don't lose a great DC and then like expect to replace it so easily.
All right, Big Mike, before we let you go, is there a final decision on your playing status next season?
No, there's not a final status. But part of the reason why there's not a final status is because I opened up this transitional living. I'm in the process of opening up as well, an outpatient clinic. So it's like I'm trying to help all the drug addicts out there. So it's like, I'm working 100-hour weeks. So right now it's it's very difficult. I'm trying to find a way where I will be able to play, but it's. We'll see. Right now, I've already dropped 70 pounds, so it's like getting in shape. Listen, if I'm going to play, I got to be in shape. I can't be like the way it was last year. It's just like it was ridiculous watching me on the field.
By the way,
I was an old man.
You do a great job with the Jerusalem Sober House. I want you to give a plug to that before we let you go.
I mean, the Jerusalem Sober House is like we're the only transitional living, for the Anglo community in Israel. It's Shomer Shabbos, Shomer Kashrut, and it's an amazing place that helping people get sober since March. So it's like, and I'm very proud of our organization.
Yeah, as you should be. They do great work and continued success with that. Very happy you started that. And anyone who's interested in that, you can contact Big Mike on Facebook. Any other ways they can contact you, Big Mike?
Right. Well, it's like we have our website, which is www.jerusalemsoberhouse.com. Or they can call me at 0526-999-878.
Okay, excellent. All right, Big Mike, thanks for calling in here to the program, giving your thoughts about the decision, and we look forward to seeing you on the field this season in the IFL. Hopefully you can play, but if not, I'm sure you'll be around the Kings in some capacity, so it'll be fun.
Oh, for sure. Listen, the Kings are my squad. The Kings are doing amazing this year.
Okay.
And by the way, our former offensive lineman, Ellie Sherman, got engaged, so mazel tov to him.
Wow. Mazaltov. Okay, great. I've known him for a while. Great stuff. Mazaltov to Ellie Sherman. That's great news. All right, Big Mike, we got to run, but thanks for being on Louis Live and Israel Sports Radio.
All right, all the best.
All right, that was Big Mike Gondelman giving his thoughts about the decision. So already people chiming in, a lot of comments on Facebook already about it. It was a lot of comments early in the morning. We got to end the show right now because it's a few minutes past 9 o'clock local time. Want to thank all our guests. Wow, it was a while ago since we started. But first, Kalari Carter breaking down the Olympics. We appreciate his time, our Southern correspondent to the United States on Israel Sports Radio. We then had two-time WNBA champion with the Houston Comets, Yolanda Moore, talking about her time with Cynthia Cooper, Tina Thompson, and Cheryl Swoops. Then David Jones from Sky Sports talking about soccer to the point that Raphael was a tad intimidated. We then had at the 8 o'clock hour Kurt Schilling. That was an interview from May 1st in which he was discussing his business that was running at the time 38 Studios.
Potential political career.
His potential political career.
And over now.
And being a three-time World Series champion, his thoughts on if he was a Hall of Fame player or not. And then finally, the decision. Brandon McDougall, number 20, formerly with the Beersheba Black Swarm, now going to the Tel Aviv Sabres, the defending champions who won 2 out of the last 3 titles and made it to the title game 3 years in a row. So Brandon McDougall will be running for them, taking his talents to Tel Aviv Beach. And Big Mike afterwards giving his thoughts about that because he is a New Yorker and that's what they do. They have to give their thoughts and everything. So we'll see. It's going to be an exciting IFL season. We'll see what will happen. Tel Aviv gets Brandon McDougall. They do lose 2 coaches. We'll see if they'll be able to repeat their performance as champion again this season. Stay tuned next week as we have a couple announcements of people that will be on in the upcoming weeks.
Yes, sir. Next week we have a great show, and we're going to have Cub Union from ESPN Denver join us, and a special edition of Louis Live on August 7th. Ari, I don't know if you remember about this, but Avital Leibowitz, who is the IDF spokesperson, is going to join us for a special exclusive 30-minute interview to talk about everything going on in Israel, the crisis in Syria, rockets slamming in southern Israel, and so on. Kalari Carter will be back with us, and we're going to have David Weissman again from the Follow Team Israel Olympic Group to discuss next week's Israel Olympic roundout. And Chaim Bloom, very big guest from the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, will be joining us. And another big announcement, we are very, very close to securing Larry Brown to come on our show. So we're very excited about that. Probably the best Jewish basketball coach of all time. And very, very excited about that. That would be towards the end of August, the last week of August. So we're working on that right now. Chaim Bloom is the baseball operations director for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. I keep saying Devil Rays. A few more guests will be joining us. Andy May, very well-known soccer analyst in England. Jim Williams, of course, next week. Amiel, who is from the Maccabi games in the USA. He's the director of it. He runs it. So he's going to tell us all about the Maccabi games. Zach Lee Rigg from Goal.com. That's always a lot of fun. The week after that, Josh Kratzovitz from CBS. He's a football writer, so we'll be talking to him about the upcoming NFL season. Tamir Leinhart, who is a great soccer writer, will be joining us. Also Israeli, who made a good life for himself in America being a soccer writer. A lot of Jim Williams next week again. And Fred Clare, another big guest for us, the former general manager of the LA Dodgers back in the days where the 80s when they were very successful and were able to win a lot. Also, Tommy Smith has confirmed he'll be joining us Thursday, August, I believe, 16th to preview the upcoming Premier League with us. We haven't had Tommy on all summer. He's been in vacation in Ireland, so it's going to be great to have him on. Harvey Fromer has also confirmed that he will be returning, so Ari and him will talk some baseball/basketball history. And Jerry Coleman from the Fox Sports, The Fan in Baltimore, will be joining us, as well as Bill Rowland from Washington, D.C.'s CBS Sports. I'm trying to think of if I forgot anyone. Ari? John Weissman, who used to write for ESPN LA and has written a lot of big baseball books, will also be joining us. Dave Cohen will be joining us again. He is a broadcaster, very well known in the United States. And a lot more great guests, believe it or not. That was just the cream of the crop. Right, this is a taste. This is an interesting one, though, everyone should look out for. Brian Farley, who is the manager of the Netherlands baseball team. And we're going to talk to him about the World Baseball Classic and Israel's participation. I had a good discussion with Brian about Israel and Netherlands baseball and what he's doing there. Obviously, he's an American coaching the national team, but he says there's a lot of good stuff with going on right now with the World Baseball Classic. And great guests. We're working on getting even more guests, a lot of big names. We're also, I got to remind Ari, in September, some WNBA stars will be joining us. We're pretty sure Sue Bird and Tamika Catchings.
Oh, awesome.
Very close to securing that. Right now, of course, they're busy pretty much winning the gold for their country in the Olympics, so they couldn't do anything in the month of August. But, very big show today. Thank you to everyone who joined us, especially Yolanda Moore. Very exciting interview, especially for Ari to have some WNBA time, right, Ari?
Oh, yeah. That was awesome. I freaked you out, didn't I?
A little too much WNBA knowledge, but I guess that can't hurt.
There's no such thing as too much WNBA knowledge.
That's true, man. That's true. I like women's college basketball. I know just as much about that than I do in other sports. But, that's it for me, Ari.
I need to make a quick correction. Coach Mike will be coming back. Brandon McDowell actually told me that. So Coach Mike is coming back. The gentleman who wears that Stanford sweatshirt, if you've ever seen him at the IFL games, has a really intense job with the military. And I don't know if everyone even knows what he does, but he's involved with the security and does great work for the United States. He's here in Israel and actually coaches football for Mental Health Day, so kind of take a breather from his intense work. So Coach Mike will be back. Coach Larry Kay, a grandfather, will not. As Raphael mentioned, stay tuned for some great shows in the upcoming weeks. But that's it for tonight. God bless and good night.